Hello, and welcome to Talking TV with my mum, the weekly Geek-Dom Roundup review show of all the genre geek TV shows. Well, I say all, the selective ones that we talk about. Hope that you're all well. Welcome if it's your first time here, and welcome back if you've been here before. Hopefully we will entertain you today. We've got a bumper-sized episode this week because all of the Arrowverse programs were back on after a short break, and pretty much every episode of the shows that we're going to be talking about today are pretty exciting. There's lots of stuff going on in pretty much all of them. So we're going to be covering Walking Dead, Star Trek Discovery, Supergirl, Arrow, The Flash, the Orville. We'll probably have some other bits and pieces that we just throw in there as general chat, but hopefully you'll sit back, grab your popcorn, grab yourself a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the show. Please leave a like on the video, because that really helps us, and please also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Go down below into the comment section. We'd love to hear what you think about all of these programs, and share your opinions and your theories and everything like that. And also check out the description box for other ways that you can help us out and help to grow this geekdom of ours. So without further ado, we're going to get underway. So I would like to introduce my co-host. So hello Mum, are you there?
Hello Dom, yes I'm fine, thank you. All better this week.
So yeah, no more sort of chest infections or coughs or Christmas.
No, it seems to be alright, so yeah.
Good.
Didn't sound too bad with the croaky voice last week either, so that was alright.
No, it was alright, wasn't it? It wasn't too bad at all, really. I mean, I know you were a bit concerned about how you would sound and stuff, but yeah, I thought you sounded alright.
Yeah, it was good.
Good.
Yes, excited about this week, because there's loads happening this week.
Yeah, definitely indeed. Oh yes, yeah, just a quick thing, I had some crazy traffic through my channel over the last couple of days, and one of my videos in particular is now in the over 100, I think it's 130 views or something like that, which is insane because I haven't had those numbers yet. I mean, I know for other people out there in the world of YouTube that's probably small numbers, but for my channel, based on what I've been getting, that's insane. So if anybody's listening to this that had any part in that, then I want to say thank you. Please just drive more views and more people to my channel, because the more eyes we get on us, the more that we can do, because the more YouTube will take notice of us, and that allows us to carry on bringing great content like this to you guys. So thank you very much for that, and yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Well, you're doing something right.
Bizarre, but yeah, it's great. I mean, I just hope it carries on that way. So the thing is, the important thing as well, people listening to this, is if you can subscribe too, that would really help drive my numbers up, because like I said, the bigger the channel grows, the more opportunities there will be for me and the more stuff that I can do for you guys. So anyway, that was just that little bit of sort of update on the channel. So let's jump in to this week's episode of The Walking Dead to start with, and this was called Guardians. So yes. What are your thoughts on this week's episode?
Very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we started with the Whisperers and Lydia back with the Fold.
Yep.
Telling Alpha what the Hilltop have, but I don't think she wasn't telling her everything.
Yeah.
She was telling her enough to keep her off her back, but not to the extent that she knew enough about it. Very clever thinking, because I think she obviously did endear herself to them, the fact that they were going to look after her if they could have done.
Yeah.
But don't think Alpha believed everything she was saying to her.
No, because she did really underplay it, didn't she? And she was like, they've got a few bits and pieces, and she asked her about trade, and she said, any trade? And she was like, hesitated for a second, then she went, no. And I don't know, just watching that scene, I was just thinking, I don't know whether Alpha's actually buying everything that she's telling her or not.
Yeah, that's how I thought. We then whisked to Alexandria.
Yes.
And Michonne.
Yeah, for the first time in a little while.
Yeah, right. So basically, she's really annoyed with everybody because they're all the things they've done, like with the thing, Rosita and Eugene going off.
Yep.
What else happened? Oh, yeah, and obviously that Negan got out. She was seriously not happy with them.
No, they had a big sort of kind of not an argument, but there was a big disagreement because they've got this council, which by the looks of things, Gabriel's the leader of the council, but because Michonne is like the leader of the community, anything the council comes up with, she can basically veto the whole thing. So even if the majority of the council voted one way, Michonne could go, no, we're not doing that, and that would be the end of it. And that was the kind of point of contention, wasn't it? It was like, well, what's the point of us having this council if you can just come in with like one person's perspective and you can just say, no, that's not going to happen.
Overrule it all, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they definitely were doubting some of her ideals, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that she only cared about herself.
Yeah.
Her own place in the pack rather than everybody.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting to see that going forward. Obviously, maybe that's what causes something else. Yeah, then we did then go back to the Whisperers.
Oh, before we jump back to the Whisperers, yeah, one of the main things to do with that debate was about this fair that we keep hearing about and about their, involvement in it and stuff, wasn't it? And she was still adamant that we're not going to do it. And was it in that moment as well that she made the comment? They said something about the kingdom. So we still don't really know what went down. We don't know what went down between the communities. And we also don't know why the kingdom is in such bad shape, considering that previously, before the flash forward, they seemed to be doing okay. And they were like, they're our friends. And I mean, you've got Carol there. Carol's been part of this pretty much since the beginning. And Michonne was kind of like really blasé about it, like, it's bad. I feel bad for them if things don't work out, but we also have to think about ourselves. My priority is Alexandria and Alexandria's continued success and growth, not other people's communities, which I was like, that's a bit harsh, to have that attitude.
She was also saying that she was going, because they were all about the fair, they want to be part of it, and she was going, I'm not prepared, that's a risk. You all go in, because she was worried about, because obviously they're her people.
Yeah.
Can't afford to lose her people. Like, go in there and just get in there to the fair, because it's going to be held at the kingdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a big risk factor. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a good idea. But didn't she back down and say, well,
that's later on, wasn't it? So we'll come back to that. So then we jump back to the Whisperers.
Yeah, and they found Henry.
Yes, because obviously he'd been following them. And they knew that he'd been following them, which was interesting. And that's where we then got introduced to the right hand, the second in command, didn't we?
Peter.
Yeah, God, he's a big bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks like Chewbacca.
Yeah, like a giant zombie Chewbacca.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how he became the second in command as well, won't it? Where whether he was from the original camp right back in the day, or she's met him along the way. Yeah. So that's something to look forward to, a bit of a backstory on him, because we don't know what he looks like, do we?
No.
So, but yeah, so they've caught Henry, and when Lydia saw him, I think Alpha now thinks she's wondering about the girl, isn't she? Because her reaction to capturing Henry wasn't, she was upset almost, wasn't she? So she could see it in her face.
Yeah.
Thinking there's more to it. She's bonded more than she claimed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they took them back to the Whisperers camp. There's loads of them.
Yeah, because they like, the whole bit when he came up with Henry was that they like stopped in like a little, like a valley almost.
Yeah, they heard something, didn't they? And they started.
And they were all just like wandering around and sat down, and she was wandering backwards and forwards, and the whole time, obviously, Lydia was just as normal. She didn't have like a zombie mask on or whatever. And she was like sat by a tree, and she found a yo-yo.
Right.
And then,
she took the string off it for some reason.
Yeah.
And the next thing, Beta found him.
Yeah.
But they said, because obviously when they caught him, they said, we're taking him back. And they said, and we need to get her another mask.
Yeah.
A new mask or something. And so they obviously headed off into the camp. Which, like I say, there was loads of them, wasn't it? It was quite basic, wasn't it? Just nothing fancy.
Well, yeah, they're living like wild people, aren't they? They've
dissecting
just got
animals and all sorts.
Bits of like clothing and stuff hung over tree branches and stuff, but they haven't. It's almost like they're camping in the woods rather than set up a community.
Yeah, they're not cooking anything. No fires or anything. They was obviously just dissecting, because obviously they eat everything as it is, don't they? So
Yeah.
it's like, ooh.
And obviously you had
Wait,
the bit when they first got there. Obviously they came across. It was like an open field, wasn't it? That led to where like the forest was, and there was like a group of zombies milling around. And she turned to Lydia and was like, "You're home" or something. Um,
yeah.
so there's like real zombies wandering about outside of their camp, but because of obviously how they present themselves and obviously they keep quiet and things like that,
They don't
they're
come near them.
yeah, they're not interacting with each other. So yeah, they went, yeah, like you said, it was all very basic. They went into the camp. We saw all these, people cutting things up and do it. It was all kind of gross. And then they went and they secured Henry. And then did we not then, before anything else happened there, we then jumped back to the other lot.
We went back to the other bit, and it was Eugene and his charts regarding Gabriel and Rosita's future. I've got some charts, and I worked all out all the possibilities. Where he talks, and that was hilarious.
Yeah,
because he said, because obviously he knows obviously that Gabriel's with Rosita, Rosita's expecting the other guy's baby, and Eugene fancies Rosita.
Mhm.
So he's just come up with all this paperwork of all these pros and cons of everything. And Gabriel's face is hilarious. And then he goes, "I got a present for you." He goes, "I've noticed the Rosetta is going to need some big pantaloons. There's something in this bag." And he's thought of everything. He's like, Gabriel's listening, okay.
I mean, what makes me laugh about him is that he makes everything into kind of like a practical formula, doesn't he? Rather than looking at it from like the emotional perspective, it's more, here are the pros.
Like a mathematical algebra thing, isn't it? Also a scientific thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's all done by logic rather than emotion. It's all like, let's work this out logically. And, he's like, you love her, she loves you. That's quite clear to see, but you need to think about what's important and all this. And then he admitted, for the first time ever, he admitted to someone else out loud the fact that he's in love with Rosita, which we all knew. We were all aware of this.
We've done that for a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
Through his feelings in the mix, like, I've no chance, but I'm supposed to, I love her.
And so he gave
voice.
He gave him some things to think about, didn't he?
Yeah.
We also, in that segment before that bit, we also had the bit where Michonne went to Negan's cell, and she was kind of querying, like, why did you come back, and all this stuff, and basically calling him out, saying, like, you're nothing now. You came back because you have nothing, and you realised you couldn't survive on your own, and all of this kind of stuff. And she was really sort of, pushing him and prodding him. And he said about, like, what he's been overhearing and, like, their council meetings and stuff, and that basically, like, you're losing them. You're not being a good leader because you're not listening to your people. And I could be of help to you. I'm a resource, and instead of using me as a resource, you're just leaving me in here. But I know lots of things that are going on around here, and she wasn't taking it. She was just like, really,
she was so annoyed as well, wasn't she? She's like, and then she looked out the window, and Judas was outside listening.
Yeah, and then she ran away, and so she sort of went, and then she sort of hurriedly left the cell.
I'd said, make sure that window's boarded up.
Yeah, because she doesn't want him knowing anything else from now on.
Because he was basically telling her the truth.
I mean, the thing is, right,
because it's coming from him.
It's a weird position with Negan in that, like, you think about how much we hated him, like, for what he did, but at the same time, we really liked him for his character because he was funny and charismatic and charming. And yeah, you're not going to forget the things he did, but, like, there's always been something else. There's always been other layers to his character.
Yeah.
And he is a useful person, I mean, if he's willing to go, right, okay, I concede defeat, I've lost everything, and I've realised maybe I should work with you people. And if they can utilise his skill set, why not?
Yeah, but she won't look at it like that. She's going, "Oh, you escaped. Yeah, you realised nothing for you here, so you came back."
Yeah.
You thought your bread's better buttered on the other side, or what the saying is, or grass is green on the other side. And you say, "No, I just thought I'd be more useful here," and blah blah. But she wasn't having any of it.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that section.
So then we jumped back.
to Daryl. We got Daryl, Dog, and Connie
Yeah.
on the trail of the ghost whisperers.
Mm-hmm.
Funny, my favourite moment: teaching the dog to retrieve the arrows. Broke the arrow, stupid dog, or bad dog.
Do you,
LOL.
do you want to know something funny? Right? That
I wonder how
scene.
many takes that took.
Well, no, this is the funny thing. Some gossip here. Apparently, that bit was ad-libbed. The dog was meant to go to grab the arrow, but that was all that was supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to sort of like return to him, like not in the scene anyway.
Yeah,
It was just supposed to be go and get it, sort of to leave it to our mind that, oh, the dog's gone to retrieve the arrow kind of thing. But when he broke the arrow and brought it back, and then Daryl looked and sort of said bad dog and stuff,
bad dog.
that all apparently wasn't scripted. That was all, but they liked how it flowed out, so they left
It
it
was
in.
clever because obviously when the dog went to get the arrow, I was going, "Wow, that's really cool."
Yeah.
So he's got the dog to go get the arrows off the zombies, and then when he
Mhm.
broke it, and then he said that, I thought, "Oh, highlight of the night, oh,
I
highlight of the
know.
program was that bit." But because it's his dog, isn't it? You said,
Yeah, that's his real dog. Yeah.
yeah.
But that's what made the
So
whole
yeah,
thing funnier was the fact that
yeah.
like that bit wasn't meant to happen, so that was funny. But we have to talk about what was really cool about that bit was obviously they're tracking, they realise, obviously he was here, they find the clues and stuff, and then some zombies turn up, and you get that awesome moment where he pulls out his crossbow, she pulls out her slingshot,
Slingshot.
and they simultaneously take down those zombies, and it was just like
Yeah,
that was a really cool moment.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that was good. I
Yeah, so they're
enjoyed
on the
that.
trail, but meanwhile in the camp, they're skinning a walker for a
Yeah.
new mask for Lydia. Ooh.
Mhm.
And we had some rebels in the camp who were challenging the leadership.
Yeah, because
Uh,
there'd been a bit earlier on,
there'd been
hadn't there? The bit
yeah,
when
they were
they.
stood talking. They looked like they were just, well, talking, I suppose. She spotted them.
Hmm.
So then when they challenged her, she said, "Yeah, I saw you two conspiring
Yeah.
in the woods." And they were saying all this stuff to her. And they were quite ballsy, to be fair, 'cause she's scary, isn't she? So, I mean, yeah, they knew the consequences could have been dire anyway, but they still were prepared to challenge her, which I thought I was quite impressed about her.
It
They've
was.
seen what she's done in the past, presumably, obviously, because they've been with her a while. The fact to have the guts to even challenge her.
Yeah. I mean, what was interesting was the way it played out, though. It was the guy that approached her and said,
Mm.
we have rules, and, what's the point of the rules if you're going to break, you're going to
Yeah,
break
she's
them.
gone
You're
back
going to
top
kind of
girl,
say,
hasn't she?
yeah, you're going to say the rules apply to everyone else, but they don't apply to me. It's kind of,
Yeah,
that's not very fair. Surely the rules should apply to everybody. And she was like explaining, it was a worthwhile thing to do because we now know more about them. We know more about what they've got, and more about their camp and things like that. So it was a necessary rescue. It wasn't an emotional rescue because there was that
yeah,
line earlier on as well, wasn't there, where Lydia had sort of said about like her saving her because she was her daughter or something, and Alpha just kind of looked at her like she didn't sort of one way or the other. She didn't confirm or deny. She just gave her a look. But yeah, she was like, we did it. It was a strategic decision. But this guy was
yeah,
like, oh, it's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, I suspect that this isn't you. I don't think you're the one that wants to challenge me at all. And she went over and grabbed his girlfriend or his wife or whatever and
yeah.
said, this is all you. You're the one, and you're just not brave enough to actually come to me yourself. You sent him to do your dirty work. And then obviously the woman then was like, yeah, okay, fine, and she said about the challenge, and she said, well, that's our community. We've always had that rule that if anybody's ever dissatisfied, anyone has the right to challenge me. It's almost like the democratic process is that,
Yeah.
you can challenge me if you like, but, just hope for your sake that you win. And then, oh my God, didn't things go horribly wrong for that couple then?
Yeah. Well, she lost her head. Off with her head.
The amount of upper body strength that Alpha must have to be able to pull that, like, was it like garroting wire to like pull
Yeah,
it through and sever somebody's head? I mean,
yeah.
oh, that was just insane. I was just like, oh
Awful.
my God. And then when
Yeah,
she
that
just
wasn't
held
good.
out the head and then she turned and showed it to him, and then
Handed in the head.
yeah, and I mean, I wonder if because she's got this thing about strength and about, I mean, she said earlier on about the reason they wear the skins and stuff is because it's about adaptation. It's like survival of the fittest and stuff.
Yeah.
If he hadn't cried, do you think that she would have let him live? Because I wonder
maybe.
whether the reason
Yeah,
that
because he
she
showed
killed it.
weakness.
Yeah. Because he shed a tear, and it's like, oh, you're weak, so you have to die. And then obviously Beta killed him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Stabbed him or whatever. But
So,
yeah, that was just like, well, and then she was like, let this be a lesson. Anybody, basically you're all free to challenge me, but, you know what will happen if you don't beat me.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, don't rebel because you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Unless you can come up with a really good idea, there's no point.
And Henry the whole time was tied to a tree watching
Sat there
all
watching
this.
it all like, oh, scared little boy. It was
Mm.
quite interesting because we did have a quick snip back to the, in between there and going back to them.
Yeah.
We had, we went back to Alexandra and we had, Michonne's still really annoyed about the Negan conversation and also the one in the morning with the guys in the council.
Yes.
And then obviously seeing Judith, and then Judith comes in like, hi, something, and wow. So she had a go at her, and Judith turned around basically and said she felt sorry for him, because he listens to her. It was interesting because she said he listens to her. It's like thinking, yeah, you lot might go about your business, but he gives me the time of day basically.
Mm-hmm.
And she believes he's changed, and then she really it was like she couldn't win that argument because Michonne, she just turned around and went, go to your room. It's like she was backing down, was she? She's a little tiny girl. She's like, this is how it is, and Michonne's looking at her like trying to be authoritative, but she couldn't. She didn't know what to say to her, did she? She said, go to your room.
And then, and then she was like, why? And then she said, because I need a minute.
I need a minute.
So she's like, she sort of went off.
She's brilliant. I thought, yay. But yeah, so we had that. So obviously that was her then, leave her to ponder on everything that happened. We then went back to the Whisperers.
Yeah.
And now, what did the girl, Lydia, have round her neck? She had some necklace. She had it on the outside, put it on the inside, under a jumper, and then Henry smiled at that.
Mm.
Was that a sign? I wasn't sure what she had round her neck.
I don't know. Bit. I don't know whether I'm misremembering. I don't know. Did he give her something back in? Oh no, I know what it was. Isn't that what she used the string for from the yo-yo?
But what was on the neck?
So she obviously attached. Did he give her something previously, like a stone or a coin or something?
I don't know. There's some relevance to that. It was like to tell him, like, don't worry, sort of, because obviously he didn't know whether she had now reverted back to them, because she was acting like them, scared to death not to. So I was wondering, is that relevant? But maybe not.
But then we also had the other bit was Alpha and Beta like on their own.
She had a moment, didn't she?
And she was like, that's the first time it's happened in like, was it over a year or something like that? Like nobody's challenged my authority for a long time. And she was querying her decisions, and he was like trying to make her feel better, and he was like, they follow you for a reason, and I follow you for a reason. And then he said he put the idea in her head that maybe things aren't quite as they appear with Lydia, and he's like, maybe she thinks more about this boy than she's letting on.
But
perhaps.
He then talked about when she was a child, and she said she put a bag over her head. She nearly let her suffocate.
Yeah.
She said, I watched her and all this. Then she battered her afterwards when she stopped her killing herself. And like, she's so evil. It's like,
because in her mind, she was teaching her a lesson of like, now you'll know not to do that again kind of thing. And it's like, that's hardcore. That is really, wow. You're a damaged person, really.
Yeah. So they've decided they're going to find out if Lydia thinks more of this young guy than they thought, and they showed Daryl was very close in that section, and then it panned away from that back to Alexandria.
Also, no, wait. The other key thing, and this is probably important to that whole scene as well. Yes, we saw Daryl and stuff, and they watched some of the Whisperers come out of them woods, bringing out the bodies of those two people.
Oh yes, they brought the body out they just said leave it there, they'll come and get it.
Yeah.
So they dragged the man and the woman that they'd killed, and they just left them so far. Yeah, and they just left them and went back in. But obviously Daryl and Connie they were that close now that they could see this. I was thinking, they're so close.
Yeah.
Then we went back to Alexandria. Michonne decided to give the people the choice regarding the fair.
Yeah.
So she decided, we're going to have a vote. If you really want to go against my, my better judgment, I don't think it's a good idea. And they all decided they wanted to go. So I thought, yay, they're going to go. Because I thought, Jesus will be, I know, Jesus in heaven now with his father. He was the one that was like really pushing for that as well. And it feels like, yeah, it's right they're going to go because he got killed trying to save one of their lot. So yeah, let him go to the fair. You will go to the fair.
Yes.
So that's good.
But
they
were loading up. That we saw then, obviously, after that whole conversation, it just sort of, we never got to see them do the vote or whatever. It just then flashed to them all like loading up carts and putting food there and things like that. And yeah, and then we jump back to the last part of this episode.
Yes. So she decided, in order to find out if her daughter really had any feelings for him, she was going to make her kill him. Mm-hmm. That was the only way she knew if she was faithful to Alpha's group. So that was intense bit of like, whoa.
And she was like, if you don't kill him, we'll just kill you both.
Yeah. So I want you to finish it off.
Yeah.
So go on then, you tell the last bit.
Well, okay, so they gave her a knife and she was trembling. She obviously didn't want to do it, and Henry was like, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do this. And it looked like she was getting pushed to the point where she was going to, because it was like, well, what choice do I have? They're going to kill both of us. I don't want to kill him, but at the same time, obviously, I don't want to lose my life. I mean, we'll never know really what ultimately she was going to do.
She was that close.
Because she turned on Alpha a little bit. She started being a bit mouthy to her and sort of saying about what you do and the way that you do things is wrong and stuff like that. So whether or not, if she'd really been pushed in that scenario, it's like maybe she would have attacked her in the end. We don't really know. And the reason we don't know is suddenly screaming broke out as real zombies started invading the Whisperers camp and started...
They weren't whispering then, were they?
No, and they started attacking people and eating people, and all hell broke loose. And then we saw these...
Somebody grabbed Henry.
And it was a zombie.
Oh no! I thought first it was that beta guy. I thought, oh no, they're going to grab him and run away with him, because in the chaos, make sure they keep their captive. Yeah. And then we recognise the voice.
And it turns out that Daryl and Connie had taken a leaf out of the Whisperers books, and they had disguised themselves as zombies, and they had led the other zombies into the camp.
They probably dragged the food back into the camp, didn't they? Dragged bodies back in, I reckon. Because we didn't see how they did it, but obviously when they saw what they brought out for them, they must have somehow got it, like, led it back into the camp so that they would walk into the camp.
Yep.
Yeah, that was so cool.
It was really good. And then they obviously convinced Henry, was like, come with us. And she didn't know what to do. And then she agreed to go with them and left the Whisperers fighting off the zombies that invaded their camp. And then just
chucked the masks on the ground as they ran away.
What did I say to you, though? What did I say last week? I said about whether or not things had been were finished between them. Now, I know in this episode we got the impression that things weren't finished because Alpha was talking quite a lot about their camp, what they've got, and this, that, and the other. But, like, now, this whole thing, like, by Henry going there, by them coming to rescue Henry, that led
and then a lot of them getting killed.
Yeah, so now she's going to retaliate.
She originally was probably going to go, well, if ever we need anything, we know they've got stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's like, hell, she wants to go for him now.
And do you know what? Do you want to know my prediction? So it's more of a feeling rather than prediction. I've been saying to you for weeks and weeks about this fair thing. They keep going on about this fair. They keep going, when's this fair going to happen?
Oh, it's going to be at the fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like the reason now, it dawned on me when I was watching that episode, and especially how it ended with, they've agreed, yes, we can go and do the fair, and then this happened at the Whisperers camp. I thought, the fair's going to end up being a massacre.
Yeah,
like, this is the whole
point.
What
they're going to do is they're going to probably see them all moving from place to place. See the, like, what do they call it? Well, there's a lot of things moving along. They'll be watching that. They won't pounce until it happens. You know what I mean? They won't try and get them on the road, I don't think. They will wait until it's all set up, and then they'll watch, and then they'll take their moment. And that's probably going to be how it ends the season, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get like a really shocking sort of cliffhanger. Something really awful is going to happen. But I just had that feeling. It just dawned on me when I was watching it, and I thought, I think I know what the point is now of this whole thing to do with the fair. I think that it's going to play into whatever is going to happen, like the fair, things are going to go wrong at the fair, something's going to happen, they're going to get attacked because all of them are in one place, all of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just thought, I don't see this ending well.
No. Yeah, like I say, they've given her a reason, more of a reason now as well, haven't they? So in her eyes, she's justified.
Yeah.
Because you killed all my people.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So it's like, ooh, exciting. So yeah, so we will see. But like I say, we've still got 4 episodes, is it? No? 4 more episodes. That was 12.
That was yeah. So we've got 4 more, yeah.
Another month.
More, yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least another month. I'll leave you to Easter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, maybe what will happen at the end then? Maybe we'll get a shock. Maybe like something will happen, but then they'll be saved because of it happening around Easter time. Maybe Jesus will return.
And Jesus arrived. I said I would return. Stop being naughty. I apologise to anyone out there listening that's religious. My son is out of order. Shouldn't joke about such things. Right, moving on, Mr. Geek-Dom.
Yes, okay, so Star Trek Discovery. This episode, Light and Shadows.
Yes. So, right, so the search for Spock continues.
Yeah.
Right, so Burnham wants to go to Vulcan to see the family, to see if they've heard anything or have they got any information. Mm-hmm. I like that bit because she'd already packed her suitcase, hadn't she? And then he went, I'd really like some leave. And he goes, you've probably packed your suitcase. I wouldn't do that, sir, without getting permission.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. What are you going to be doing? She says. He goes, oh, we're going to hang around here for a little bit longer and see if we can find out anything more about the red bursts and... the
angel. Yeah,
the red bursts, the angel, and the time... What was it, the temple?
No, it wasn't. No, you're jumping forward there. They were still at Saru's planet from the week before. And they said they were going to carry on monitoring the data from the anomaly and from the angel, and also monitoring what was going on the planet after what had happened in the previous week's episode, which I liked because it was a bit of continuity. It was like, yes. They're not just flying away from there after basically starting what is it, like a revolution almost on on Saru's planet. They're like, we're going to stay here and monitor things and just, see how things are panning out sort of thing. And while there, that was when they picked something up. They picked up a weird thing and they said, there seems to be some kind of temporal anomaly, like a time distortion. And so they said, okay, we'll do further investigation. Yeah, so that was then obviously when that came up. Of course. That wasn't the main reason they stayed there, but as a result of them staying there, that was part of they then discovered that thing. Out, yeah. Right, so Burnham went off and... there was some weird things happening, wasn't there? They were in the actual bridge, wasn't there? And it was like, was it Tilly looked around and the captain was sat on the chair, but he wasn't sat on the chair. Mm-hmm. There was things happening, like as if they were happening, but they weren't happening. And that's when they realised... Yeah, that's when they realised there's some sort of temporal distortion or something. And it was sending like waves out, which was kind of affecting them. So they said, maybe we can find out more about the Red Angel and things like that by investigating this time anomaly. So they decided to send a probe out to try and get information, didn't they? So they launched the probe, and the probe flew off, and then the probe went into the anomaly, and then they lost contact with the probe. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, brilliant. And then, so Pike said, I think we need to go and investigate, and he was adamant he was the best man for the job. Yeah. Tyler wasn't very... Because Tyler was obviously annoyed with him anyway, because he said, where's Burnham? Is it to do with Spock? And he said, no, she's just gone to have some family time. He goes, I'm here. You have to tell me, because I'm Section 31, everything about Burnham and Spock. And he says, nothing to do with Spock. She's gone away for a break. Yeah, and so there was also... No white lie. Yeah, also, it was because of, obviously, what's happened in the past, like who Tyler is or what Tyler is, that also seemed to be playing on Pike's mind. So there was this kind of tension between the two of them as a result of like the whole Klingon thing, and there was a reference made about the war, and about what Pike did or didn't do in the war, and whether that was the reason he was trying to overcompensate for things now and stuff. So there was a lot of kind of tense feeling between the two of them as a result of a whole bunch of different things. But he then basically said, well, like, if you're going to do this thing, I'm coming with you. So
Yeah.
he pushed himself into that position where both him and Pike then went and piloted a shuttle towards the anomaly to see if they could find out more information.
Yes. We did have a little bit where we went back to Burnham.
Yeah.
She was waiting to see her mother or father, looking around the room, and she had sort of like memories of Tiny Spock and him showing her how to do the hand signal. You know,
Yeah.
I thought,
That was cute, that bit, yeah.
And the weird chess set.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
like a layered chess set. I thought, oh, that's cool, super cool. Oh, mind one of those. So she saw the mother, and the mother said she won't turn Spock in even if she knows where he is.
Yeah.
But then she said she was going to take her somewhere. So they went off in a ship, I think. They landed in some desolate place.
Yeah.
So, oh, where's she taking him? And then I went, there's Spock!
Yes, we finally got to see him.
Dom was happy because I seen the preview, so I knew it was going to be Spock. That's why I said you laugh. But he was rambling, wasn't he? And he kept repeating things, kept repeating numbers.
And scribbling all over the walls.
Yeah, writing on the walls. And then Daddy Spock turned up.
Yes, he'd followed them.
And he didn't know that she'd hidden him. It's like, no.
And he was really annoyed because he was like, keeping this a secret and that it's our responsibility to report this. And she was basically arguing against it and saying that, it was, wasn't going to be best for him. And he basically used his logic and reasoning. And she got annoyed because she was like, that's always the difficult thing, by me being human and because of the way that you Vulcans are, it's, you don't understand. And obviously that's a problem with Spock because he's half and half. And they basically, they came to the conclusion that, he's the man, basically. He's the husband. And also he's important as well. He's
conversation, didn't they, going, I am your wife. And she was trying to reason with him. And he's going, but like, I can't lose them both. She'll get into trouble. He'll get into, we have to do this.
And also he's got
help him.
He's got a high position, hasn't he, Sarek? He's like he's an ambassador. So it's like, I can't keep this a secret, but by being an ambassador I can hopefully find a way for them to to deal with this in a good way, in a way that's not gonna have any negative sort of outcome. And that's where they said about, obviously it was to do with Section 31, that they would need to take him there and that they would be able to like evaluate him and stuff like that. And in the meantime, obviously Burnham was like half listening to them and also half looking at Spock, trying to reconnect with Spock. She kind of got to him for a second. It was almost like he had a brief flash of who he was, but then he went back into being all weird and rambly, and he was drawing the Red Angel and writing all these things down, and he kept repeating numbers, and she was like, took note of obviously what the numbers were he was saying. And he was also doing like the Vulcan principle of logic or whatever. He was like repeating this line.
Yes.
And they said it's because he's trying to center his mind. He's trying to, they're part of him obviously realizes that he's kind of cracked up a little bit. So he's trying to almost reprogram himself.
That's what the mum was saying, wasn't it? She said he's trying to get himself to a place where he knows he's stable. So he's trying to, and that's why she was saying, leave him alone. He needs to work it out. She was like thinking, let him work it out first, then we'll decide. But no, obviously they made the decision, didn't they? So we left it there. So then we went back to Pike on the mission. He was in the spaceship. What was it, pod or whatever? I'll just call it a pod.
Oh, it's a shuttlecraft.
Shuttlecraft. So he's with Tyler, and then he keeps seeing things in there again, like what happened on the ship.
Yeah.
So he's seeing himself doing this, shooting Tyler. What's this? Well, just like, right, okay, I've got to put this out of my mind. And they're getting pulled through time.
Yeah,
like
they got too close to the anomaly and they got kind of sucked into it, didn't they?
Yeah. It's like, no, what's going on? So Tilly goes to see Stannart. Says, you have to look at the Stammert. I did write it right down. Stammert. I put N instead of M. Okay, get in there. Nearly there. Nearly got his name right. Anyways, she got him to look on the screen thing, and he was trying to work out if they could find out where they were.
Mm-hmm.
on the network, and he said the way it kept moving. What was it? Plasma bursts, was it? They were calling it.
Well, yeah, because they couldn't, obviously, to begin with, they lost contact with them, didn't they? And they couldn't work out where they were. And so then Pike obviously had this idea about dumping some of the plasma to leave a trail. And Tyler was like, that, he was questioned it and sort of said, we shouldn't do that. That's going to affect our energy resources and this, that, and the other. And he was like, look, I know what I'm doing, trust me. And then because he did that, like you said, obviously Stamets was able to use the mycelial network to scan through the time anomaly,
Yes.
and that's how they were then able to pick up these trails of the plasma that had been dumped, so that they could then try and get a fix on them and work out, yeah, they are still alive, they are still in there, we just need to work out how we can get to them.
They decided he was going to do beam me up Scotty thing onto their ship.
Mm-hmm.
To help them, and Tilly was really upset. Go, no, I will go with you. He said, no, I will do this.
Yep.
And still trying to talk to him, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm 10 minutes early or something. Got on the ship, like, what are you doing here? I'm 10 minutes early before I should be here. But the probe thing that attached itself to the ship is the probe they sent, and it's updated itself.
It was like a kind of squid, wasn't it? It was like
What do you say? It's been sent through time and is targeting us now.
Yeah, they scanned it, and didn't they say it had gone, like, how many years? Was it 50 years or
500 years.
Oh, 500 years, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Into the future. And then it had clearly been rejigged by something or someone in the future. And then it had come back to attack them. And it was like I say, it was like a squid. It had, like, tentacles and stuff.
Yes.
And it, like, attached itself to the ship, and it was trying to extract all the information.
It smashed into the ship, didn't it? And grabbed onto the something, and it was like downloading all the data, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Download the ship's data core. It's like, oh my god.
So then that was
it attacked Tyler first. Before, I think that was just before Stanek got there.
Yeah, it was.
It got in, it attacked Tyler, and then the captain shot. He said, "Don't move." Shot the thing, and it released Tyler, and that was the bit he'd seen previous happening. He was thinking, that's why, because he couldn't work out why he shot him, could he? He was thinking, why am I going to have to shoot him? What's he going to do? And then obviously when that episode happened, he realised, no, I've got to save him, not like kill him.
Yeah.
So obviously Stanek said, right, come on guys, you've got to get ready to go. We're going to go. And he's yes, because then they started floating back into the rift. Mm-hmm. And he got them out, didn't he? He's like, yay!
Yeah, they managed to beam them out in the nick of time, and they
because they decided to self-destruct the pod.
Yeah.
So they had to get out. So they put it on self-destruct. They got out. Meanwhile, back on Discovery, that alien woman, what was her name? Ariel or something?
I can't remember what her name, the like robot lady.
Yeah.
I can't remember what her name is, because they were doing the scans of the pod and stuff, and then something seemed to feed back into the Discovery, and it went...
She was like watching the data thing, and then she went all weird, didn't she?
And didn't her eyes change colour?
As it got into her.
Her eyes went red or something, as if it's like she's been like infected or taken over or something. Yeah,
so it's almost like to do with whatever that probe was doing, her being a robot as well, and she was staring at it. And then obviously they got back on the ship, and then Tilly goes, oh no, there's going to be a time tsunami. So they had to what did they do? They had to jump out of the way, didn't they?
Yeah, because if we get caught in this, it's going to be terrible. So we need to
But that was close.
We need to warp out.
It was a close call.
Out of here. Mm-hmm.
So, but now they need to find out what's going on as the probe tried to kill them. And Isaac, like saying, is the Red Angel good or not? Basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's now put that question mark in there of like, well, this time anomaly is how the Red Angel got here, but then and it seems benevolent because it did a good thing, but then at the same time our probe got turned into a hostile creature that then tried to take all of our information. So, that's an act of aggression. So they're now wondering what's really going on here.
Yeah. So then we go back. Burnham decided to take Spock to Section 31, and they're going to scan and repair him. So, but she has to leave the ship or something. They said, oh, yeah, because of protocol, bloody, you're not allowed to stay on the ship while we do it.
But see, he sort of, because it was Leyland. Leyland said that he had this memory extracting device, and they were going to use that on Spock in order to clear through his mind and get to the bottom of like what was going on in his head and try and get answers and resolve everything. And he said, you go ahead to, I think it was Starbase 37 or 47 or somewhere like that. We'll meet you there because that's where we're headed anyway. So if you go ahead there and wait for us, and then we'll join you. She was kind of apprehensive about it, you know, didn't really like the idea of leaving him, but she's like, okay, well, you know, they want to help him and they're going to try and sort this out.
And he'll need you afterwards, so you need to rest up because, you know, he's going to need you after the process.
Yeah.
So she then was left with him, wasn't she? And she gave him a hug. But then she started thinking about what he'd been saying, and she sort of came to a realisation that the numbers he was quoting were backwards.
Yeah, because she remembered this thing about how, to do with, like the mum had said and stuff, about how he had, it's almost like a kind of Vulcan form of dyslexia.
That's right, yeah.
And it had always been, you know, something he struggled with as a child, and obviously it hadn't been understood, you know, by the Vulcans and things like that. It's kind of stigmatized and stuff. So he'd always struggled with this thing as a child, and she tried to help him and stuff. And then that triggered something in Burnham's mind when she was thinking about that. And she, like, gave him a hug and, like, was like, you know, she loved him and things like that. And that was a really touching moment. And then she saw Giorgio, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. Giorgio saw her and warned her and said, take Spock, because she reckoned the experiment will damage him.
Well, it'd kill him.
Yeah, it would kill him. And she said, well, how am I supposed to do that? She goes, well, hit me or something, fight, you know. So she hit her and she goes, like, come on, this got back. Look, make it look realistic. So they had this fake fight, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously it looked good if anyone saw anything, which I thought was hilarious. So then she was rushing around trying to get off the ship. And at one point she saw Giorgio again, and Giorgio looked at her like, let's get off here. So she got on in a little ship thing and went off. And then Leland come off. So where's Burnham? Where's Burnham? She goes, she's gone on a picnic with her family, with her brother. And he goes, we've got to find it. He goes, look, you know, I have something over you. You don't want to push your luck with me. And she goes, because I know, you know, you don't want her finding out that you killed her family. I thought, oh, my days.
I know. So then that makes you wonder, is that they referred to something he'd done, like a mistake he'd made to do with an ambassador or something like that? She made some allusion to knowing about, like, something in his past. Is this the same event, you know, that was referenced the other week? So
that
it's
was
like,
interesting,
wow.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So then we saw like all this debris moving around, and then we could see a little light on one of the rocks, and Burnham was hiding in there in the ship, trying to work out what he was talking about, and telling the computer, try that as coordination, try that, and eventually they got one, didn't they? And it was Talos 4.
Yeah, because she obviously, again, it was going back to that her thinking about the numbers being the other way round, and so it was like the way he's saying them is not the order, so she fed them into the computer
or
in
compilation.
reverse.
She was getting the computer to try different ways round, didn't she?
Yeah. So then she got the computer
to
she got the computer to run the whole sequence of numbers in reverse, and it came up. It was scanning, and she was like, "What are you trying to tell me, Spock? Where are you trying to take me?" And then it came up with a match, and then it zoomed in. It was a planet, and it was Talos 4, and so she was like, "What? Why are you leading me here? What are we going there for?" Yeah. And then she set a course, and that's where they headed. So yeah, so that's their destination for the next episode.
Yes, that's going to be good. Looking forward. So like, yay!
It's going to be interesting what they find, because Talos 4 again is one of these. It's in established Star Trek lore. You know, it's not the first time this planet's been mentioned.
Oh, right, okay.
But
so
again, it's the earliest, obviously, again, because this being a prequel series, it's probably going to be maybe the earliest time
they've ever went there.
They've been there or something, and then maybe this will go on to explain why they don't go there again in the future or something. I don't know, we'll find out more in the next episode. But yeah, so hopefully we'll start getting some more answers now as to where things are going. So yeah, that was everything that occurred.
Yeah.
The only other thing I thought was just the bit when they were hiding. There's the bit in Star Wars where the Millennium Falcon's being chased by the Empire, and they hide inside like an asteroid,
Oh, okay.
And then obviously once the danger's passed, they fly off again, and that was like, although it doesn't quite pan out the same because in Star Wars there's a giant like space worm inside the asteroid, but it was the idea of like they're turning off their systems and hiding inside something in order to not be found. I was like, oh, that's like an interesting, like, they looked at Star Wars for inspiration for that scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes. But yeah, so
Right
there
then.
we go. So that's Star Trek. So obviously we've got another one of them to watch. It will be available today, I think, to watch.
Yeah, they're both on there today.
Yeah,
But I
because it's the 8th.
I thought I'll wait till I've had the chat, because otherwise I might get myself confused and talk about next week's with
Yeah,
this
exactly.
week's.
But yeah, so I'm glad that we finally got to see Spock. I'm glad that finally, after all my complaining and stuff about how long this was going to take, we finally got him. And although he's not like proper Spock at the moment because he's all kind of messed up in the head, hopefully maybe going to this planet will help sort of rejig him and reboot him, and we'll get to see what this version of Spock is like.
Yeah, cool.
So
Seems
yeah.
cool.
So
excited.
now we move on to the first of 3 of our Arrowverse programs, and we start with this week's episode of Supergirl. This episode was a long episode. What's so funny about truth, justice, and the American way?
Yeah, I was confused how long this was. It just seemed long anyway. So we have the Chinese girl at the press thing, still looking to run the story into L Corp.
Mm-hmm.
And James is like thinking, still saying no at the time.
Yeah.
That was how it's all like started. Then we had Supergirl, Kara saying she had to go off and do something. She had, what was it? I can't remember what she said, a training day or something. And she went off and she met up with Nia and Brainiac in his cool new outfit.
Yeah.
And she brought them to the Fortress of Solitude for Brainiac to train Nia.
Mm-hmm.
With Kalax, a robot, or Kleenex, as Brainy called him.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite funny. So I don't remember seeing a robot in there before. Was there a robot there before?
Yeah, they've always had like this little robot assistant
right.
thing.
Well,
Yeah.
his new name is Kleenex, so yeah, so he's there. And so she left them to it, and then she went off again. So, Manchester Black has asked John to come and see him.
Yeah.
Which he was a bit apprehensive about going to see him, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he shot him with something.
Yeah, because he basically was like, we need, you need to join us, I don't want this man, I want Martian Manhunter, basically. And it was like trying to push him into doing something, taking some form of action.
He went to see him at the prison, didn't he? He went to see him at the prison.
Mm-hmm.
He shot him with something, this new guy called Hat did.
Yes.
And then Manchester managed to escape from the prison because of it.
Yeah, because you've sort of skipped the introduction of Hat, because we had the bit where there was a guy and he was like a beggar, and there was a guard, and he asked him for some change, and he had this bowler hat, and the guy, I can't remember whether he gave him change or he did or didn't, and then the guy pulled a knife out of this hat, and obviously killed the guard, and then it seemed obviously he took this man's appearance.
Well, he would have had to, wouldn't he, to get into the prison?
Yeah,
but we didn't see him do that, did we?
That was all part of a setup. So he obviously got this guy, killed him, took his identity so that he could go into the prison and then break Manchester Black out of prison.
Right, yeah. Right, so he's proceeding to escape. Supergirl arrives, saying, "Who's Clockwork Orange?"
Yeah.
And then they got the Snake Woman out as well.
Menagerie.
And one of the Morris, what are they called?
Morai.
Morai's at, they had a Morai as well. Like, what the hell? And then they just disappeared. Like, 1 minute they're there and then boom, gone.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of that is because Hat's got these like abilities because he's like a being, he's an alien or something. So he can like bend time and space and that, which is why he's able to pull things out of his bowler hat and stuff like that. So he clearly sort of zinged them out of there. But this is what I was saying to you. Do you remember the other week I said about how in the comics Manchester Black has his own like team? So now this is clearly what we're seeing in this episode. This properly. Team, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously he then disappeared. Then the next scene we had quite a little bit of a scene where we saw Brainiac and Nia doing the training, and she wanted to know more information about, who was she asking about?
She wanted to know about her home planet and things like that.
Yeah.
And
And
he
he
was
didn't want to tell her anything.
concerned, and because she also wanted info about the future, because of him knowing her like descendant in the future. She wanted to know, like what can we do? What can my people do? And he was like, he was worried because it's that whole sort of preserving the timeline. It's like, if I give you knowledge of stuff to do with somebody in the future, and you know about it now, that could have ripple effects to the future. So he was really, I don't want you to know anything. You're just going to have to train and learn and take it slowly and not look for shortcuts.
Yeah.
And she wasn't happy about that.
No.
So she went to the robot, didn't she? And she was like, I want to know more. And then the robot kind of established that it wouldn't be breaking any sort of time things, because it was she could just learn about her planet and her people, and then that would help her find out more about what she was able to do.
True. Yep. We saw Manchester and his gang went on a rampage of killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Lena's joined the DEA. Oh God, I have to remember to write that down right.
So the Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs.
Right. So does Alex know what she's there for?
Yeah, because they had a little conversation, didn't they, where she basically said that, like, she's come on board as this kind of subcontractor, and she's this thing that she's created that's going to potentially give people powers and stuff, that they're going to be using it. And Alex was a bit wary about it all. And
right, I wasn't sure if she actually knew what she was doing. Because I was thinking, why would she entertain that, considering James is so against it?
Yeah.
I thought maybe Alex would be as well. So I was thinking, has she actually told her what she's really doing there? But obviously she has. Yeah, and then the Blackwood, the guy from the Children of Liberties, finds out that Manchester is out.
Yeah.
And he's not happy about that either, because obviously that's their job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, their job is to kill the aliens, and they're aliens, aren't they? So he's thinking, I've got another fight on my hands already.
And didn't he speak to the president and ask for a position? And the president was like, "No, you're just we appreciate what you're doing and stuff, but you're not going to be taken on as like an official member of staff here," kind of thing. And he was his nose was put out of joint by that.
Yeah, because he wanted at the time. He was saying, I need you to deputise my Children of Liberty so we can help fight this war. And he's going, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, there was a television thing came up, like a television thing, that Manchester and the gang looked like they stole the crown jewels.
Yeah, they had, yeah.
And they said, we are called the elite.
Mm-hmm.
And he called out Supergirl and said he wanted her to meet him.
Yeah.
In Manchester, UK.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, weird.
Now, one important thing before all of this, because this puts all the other stuff later on into context, was that she also had a meeting. She went to see the president, didn't she? And found out about this satellite that was like a missile, like a weaponized satellite that was going to be set up outside the Earth to destroy any alien ships or anything like that. And she wasn't happy about this because she was like, it's
Claymore.
Yeah, and she was like, it's like an act of war. It's like, putting that up there, that could actually cause more problems, because if any alien species do come and they detect this weapon and things like that, they're going to see it as hostility. You could end up inviting trouble that you don't need to invite. And he was like, we need to protect our planet, blah, blah, blah. And he refused to back down on this weaponized platform up in space.
Yeah.
So that's important, because that ties into her being called upon to go and see the elite.
Yeah. Well, that's not the order of play, but never mind. Okay. Because I had the way I saw it when I watched it before, he called her out, right? But in the meantime, John had a chat with her, saying that he's not happy. He thinks he needs to go back into the field as a warrior.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm fighting it. I know I shouldn't. I said I wouldn't, but he thinks that's the place, to go back to being in fight it, like with them, the gang, like he used to before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you had the bit with the president. Like I say, he wasn't interested. He wouldn't budge on what she was telling him. So she felt tired about what to do. So she decided to go and see Manchester Black.
Yeah.
So it was Super Friends versus the Elite, because they all turned up, didn't they?
Well, because to begin with, it was just them, wasn't it? They were like in a cafe or something, and she was sat talking
Yeah.
to him.
She was talking to him, yeah.
And he was
And
basically
then also,
trying to convince her, like, we're on the same side, we should be working together here, but my methods are better than yours because I don't pull any punches. And she's like, what you're doing is wrong, and the way you're going about things is wrong, and things like that. And he was like, well, it looks like we're opposed to each other then, because we'll go to any lengths to stop the Children of Liberty and stop all of this stuff happening to, like, aliens and things like that. And it's like, you should be the first person to sort of be stopping all of this because you're an alien,
she's in the same position, yeah.
Yeah.
He was hoping that she'd, like, realise once he said all that to her, like, we're doing the right thing. But, so the Super Friends all arrived, the rest of them arrived. So it was Super Friends versus the Elite. Who said that? I don't know, somebody quoted that.
It was her, wasn't it? Didn't she say, these are my Super Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was lots of fight. There was a big fight scene, wasn't there? And Nia's powers were pretty cool.
Yes, because we'd got a tiny little flashback to the fortress before all of that, where she obviously learnt some stuff and she was practicing this thing, like this wave of energy.
Yeah, because Kleenex had let her find out some information.
Yes.
So she learned this new move.
And it sent her flying across the room, and then Brainy came in and he was really cross with her. But then he realised, okay, she's just trying to do... And then he said, next time, try focusing it in front of you or something like that. He sort of he was cross with her, he gave her a bit of a telling off, but then he also gave her a tip of, like, if you are going to do this, do it this way. So then, we saw that put into practice when she turned up with the rest of them in order to try and take this fight to the Elite. And she, so that she was doing
Hat-Man was distracting Brainy and her with fighting so that alien guy, Morai, could get into the launch room to sort the satellite out, because he can make himself disappear, can't he?
Yes, because they were going to reprogram it, weren't they?
Yeah. So obviously they weren't aware of it, like they were just fighting and fighting. He took his ring at some point, which I don't know the relevance to the ring, and then they realised, oh, this is a distraction. Then Brainiac and his logic realised this is a distraction.
Yeah.
He's keeping us here, because obviously Kara and John had gone after Manchester, hadn't they?
Yeah.
So they realised, oh, we're getting distracted here while the other person has gone off and doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Alex wasn't going to get involved because she said, it's not my place. I can't go against what the president says.
Yeah.
But she turned up and she gave Supergirl that crazy spacesuit she's got, because they realised the only way she could get into space to stop the satellite, the launch of the missile, is she needed that special suit she's got for the space.
Yeah,
thing.
That's right.
So she went flying off into space.
Mm-hmm.
John managed to catch hold of Manchester, and he was like really pleased with himself. He knocked him down. He's like, yeah, got him. And then looked around and he disappeared again.
Yeah.
Then Supergirl obviously managed to save the day she got the saved the satellite.
Just as it was about to fire.
Just about. Like, phew, that was close. But then, when she went to see the president, he was still mad at her, even though she'd saved the White House. It's like, seriously, mate.
Mm.
He's like, you went against what I said and all this. And she's looking at him like to say, really?
It's like, yeah,
you wouldn't still be here.
Yeah, you could have been blown up, and it's only because I flew up in space and directed it elsewhere that it shot into, like, water instead of blowing the White House up, and you're still not happy. So, yeah, that was like...
And what was interesting, that Haley woman didn't know anything about Claymore.
No, yeah, because Alex confronted her.
Alex told her, didn't she?
Yeah, so now she's sort of starting to mistrust what's going on now with the president and everything like that, because of the fact that Haley was so like, I didn't know anything about this. So she's like, what's really going on here then? So that's interesting. And was it then off the back of that, the bit with Lena?
No, that was after that bit.
Yeah.
That's what prompted her to go and see Lena.
Mm-hmm.
And say, I'm, if you need, whatever you need, I'm on board with you.
Because Lena hadn't she, earlier on when she spoke to her, she'd been a bit like, I don't work for the government, I don't trust the government, and all of this kind of stuff. And Alex was a bit like, because she's like a company girl, she's like, sort of thing. But now she's like, she turned the camera off, didn't she?
Sticks to the rules, doesn't she? Sort of like, that's what I have to do.
But she turned the camera turned the camera off in the lab, and she was basically
Yes.
like, now I understand why you feel the way you do. So, and she's like, come back tomorrow and we'll go through everything with you that's really going on.
Yeah.
Like her and her
That was
assistant.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. And then Lockwood went to see the president again,
Hmm.
and he's decided to promote him to Director of Alien Affairs.
Yes, yeah, it was off the back of
I was
everything that
like,
had happened. Now the concern here though is does that surely that means that he's going to be now involved with the DEO or the DA or whatever. That
even that you don't remember.
I've got myself confused now because I was like, I'm sure it's the DEA, but then I was like, but is it the DEO? But
It's
either way,
DEO.
he's going to be going there surely because if he's Director of Alien Affairs and they're the organization that deals with aliens, then that means that he's
Yes.
going to have to go to their headquarters.
Yes. That's
Hmm.
not good.
No.
And he his people were rebelling against him.
Oh yeah, because you'd had that bit earlier on, hadn't you? There was a little bit with him where he met up and
Yes.
there was this really enthusiastic supporter, and he's big, like almost like a trucker sort of guy, and he was like saying
Yeah.
like, but then it looked like they were trying to stage a coup because they were like, oh, you're weak, you're not fit to lead, maybe we need a new leader, and so they had that little meeting where they were going to basically try and overthrow him, weren't they?
Well, yeah. And obviously when they heard he was now Director of Alien Affairs, it's like your focus isn't with us now. It's like you've got a new agenda almost, wasn't it?
Hmm.
But we have to. And he's going, "That's my mask," and oh, he lost it, didn't he? He really lost the plot.
Yeah, and he just like bashed the guy's head in with the mask.
Mm. And they turned around to the others, said, "Anyone else got anything to say?" And they sort of, no.
Yeah, so it's like
But,
I'm in
no, we're not
charge.
having that. Yeah. And so the final thing of that episode was James that decided, after everything, he called the Chinese girl into his office
Mm,
and he's going to let her run the story.
yes.
Mm.
So then the other few just the little sidebars from that was also that there seems to be a little bit of a softening of the relationship between Alex and Kara.
Yes,
'Cause
yes,
she
that was
said to
quite
her, didn't
sweet.
she, about like maybe we could, if you want to
Do
sort of
some work together
work
again.
together again in the future, maybe we could and stuff like that. And it seemed like a little bit like, oh, things are softening a little bit there. That's quite nice because they
Mm.
mentioned like, when we worked together before, it was really good and stuff. And yeah, it was, but then obviously things change. But maybe, Alex's eyes are starting to open a little bit to everything else that's going on around her. So she's like,
Yeah,
okay, maybe that worked out well. So maybe we could do that again.
yes.
And the other thing, going back to what you said before about the ring. So yeah, they stole Brainy's Legion ring, and Brainy was really upset about it and really concerned. Obviously, it's for a start, it's an artifact from the future. So if somebody in this timeline has got something that doesn't belong in this timeline, that's going to be a cause for concern to start with. But also, these
Yes.
rings, they're not just
Rings.
there for show. Yeah, they're not just there to be like,
Well,
I've
yeah,
got
because they
I've got
showed
this
that bit
ring.
at the beginning, didn't they? That's probably the relevance of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the beginning, like I was thinking, why are they showing that? That was ages ago when all three of them had the rings.
Yeah,
And obviously we see the power of the rings. So in the wrong hands,
yeah.
it could be tragic, couldn't it? So,
So it now
but
makes
they
you
obviously know
wonder.
what that does because obviously he took it for a reason, didn't he? He
Mm,
obviously knows what it does.
yeah.
He said to Blackwood, didn't not to Blackwood, to Manchester,
Mm-hmm.
that he had it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no. So yeah, that's good. That's something else to. What they're going to do with that?
So I have a
Havoc can
niggle.
they cause?
I have a niggle about Supergirl though, is that it was cool that we got the introduction of this character Hat this week. Interesting guy. Based on what he looks like in the comics, they cast it right because the character is like an Asian looking character. Why didn't they get an actual English actor? Because his accent, he sounded like he had come off the set of Oliver Twist, but like in a really bad way. It was like
Dick Van Dyke. He did a Dick Van Dyke.
yeah, it's like you're clearly an American actor trying to do an English accent,
Trying to be
and he was
English.
doing that real kind of caricature English accent,
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
than it being like obviously Manchester Black, the actor that plays him, is an English guy. So,
Yeah.
and we've seen it more and more now. There are so many English actors appearing in American things. It's like, why not just cast an actual English Asian actor
English
rather
guy.
than
Yeah.
getting an American
Pick up.
guy? I mean, don't get me wrong, he wasn't awful, but it just annoyed me a little bit. It was just like a niggle. I just thought, in the future, maybe just cast an actual English actor or something. But there we go. That was just my little quibble about the episode. But yeah, so that's Supergirl done and dusted. So we'll now move on to the next one, Arrow. Now, before we get
Yes.
into the actual episode diagnosis, I have two things to say. Firstly,
Right.
the first thing I will start with is to say I didn't really enjoy this episode of Arrow. I know that there were some key things that happened in it, but overall I was just a bit ambivalent to it. I just felt it was a bit meh. I was a bit like, I don't know. There was just something about it. I just didn't really enjoy it. I thought, I mean, the last sort of few minutes, I'd say maybe the last 10 minutes were
Near the end, yeah.
exciting, but most of the episode I thought was pretty poor.
Yeah.
I just felt, I don't know, I just felt really detached from it, and I was just like, I'm not really on board with this week's episode. It's just, So when we go forward into talking about it, I think for this one, I might chime in here and there, but I'll let you just go ahead and just do the synopsis, and I might just give my thoughts, because I just don't really have that much to say about it. But the other thing I have to tell you, big news. Big news, which maybe people already know this, but we'll bring this up on our show as well. Arrow's ending.
We thought that though, didn't we?
Yeah. We had this theory based on especially how this series has been going, this season's been going so far, but it's now been confirmed. Stephen Amell confirmed it a couple of days ago, and he said, we are ending the show. Season 8 will be the last season, and it's going to be an abridged season. It's only going to be 10 episodes long. So we will get, they will get to go out in a way that they want to
Tie
go
up
out,
things and stuff.
Yeah, so it's not just like a
yeah.
cancellation where they don't get to finish anything. And, these characters aren't necessarily all going away, because we've still got...
They're all connected to other programs like Flash, Supergirl and Legends, aren't they? So
yeah, and I mean, we've also got...
they could turn up.
We've got Batwoman coming in the future as well, so you could see some of the characters maybe might migrate over there. So they're not all, it's not going to be the end for the whole cast, it's just the end of the show.
But if you think about it, they can't... There's not much further they can go with it, because it's the way it's going. It's like... And with the futuristic bit they're showing, it's got to come to an end.
Yeah.
In our eyes, we said a few weeks ago, didn't we? We said we thought that's potentially... Are they winding it down now to, finish?
Yeah.
So, to me, it's no shock.
Yeah.
As long as they give it a good ending, I'm happy with that.
I mean, I feel as well that... I mean, we had this thing, didn't we? We had this thing about a little while ago. The whole thing with the crossover they did, and the deal that Oliver made. We still don't know what his end of the deal was.
No.
So maybe the flash forwards we're getting, where it seems to be like a world without the Green Arrow, is connected. Maybe the reason he's not in the future, the reason that he's absent, is as a result of whatever's going to end up happening due to his bargain that he made with the Monitor to save
Yeah, well, we said that
Supergirl
as well,
and
didn't we,
Flash.
the other week?
Yeah, so maybe they've been sowing the seeds for the eventual ending of the Arrow show for a little while, and now obviously by introducing the flash forwards and things like that, they're moving closer to that. So then when they made the official announcement, yes, the show is ending, it's like we've already put all the pieces on the chessboard, we just need to move them all into place now to get to that conclusion.
Yeah, okay.
So so
but
that was the
we
big
had
news.
that synopsis a while ago anyway, didn't we? So to us, it's not a shock.
Yep, exactly.
Really.
So you
Right,
go
then.
ahead. This episode was called Brothers and Sisters, and it featured obviously two kind of parallel storylines in the present and the future.
Quite a lot.
But yeah, go on. You go ahead.
So we started. So basically, at the beginning, we had the bit with Felicity running in the woods and Diaz shooting her again, which she was dreaming.
Yep.
Appeared to be dreaming. Oliver's now found out the sister's agenda. What what's his name? Mad Dog has told him what she's about, basically, and that's what he now knows why she wants to be doing this all on her own, because she's got a vengeance to deal with. And he said, "Oh, you wouldn't like it if somebody turned around and grabbed your dad's book and said, no, we're going to do it our way." So he put it in perspective for him.
Yeah.
So he understands that's what that's about. Diggles has made a decision that Oliver needs to know about the Ghost Initiative, because obviously he was the only one that was in the dark about it.
Yeah.
So that was what happened there. Then we flipped to the future. They don't believe Mia,
Yeah.
I don't believe her gender. And Mia didn't know who Connor was. She didn't realise Connor was Diggle's son.
Yeah, but
So she was happy about that.
interestingly was the fact that he said he's John Diggle's adopted son. So
Yes, that's
that means
interesting.
that's not the kid that we've got at the
That's not the
moment,
son.
JJ. It's a different son. So
Well,
what?
Connor, yeah, because JJ and Connor is two different names. We didn't think of that, did we?
Well, it could have just been a case that he took a fake identity or something. But
Yeah, so he's not. Who is he? So that makes us think, oh, who is he?
mm,
So Oliver and Felicity aren't happy with Diggle's information about this Ghost Initiative thing, and Felicity has contacted Laurel to finish what they started.
mm-hmm.
Because now she knows Diaz is involved, she says we need to finish what we started. Laurel's picked up on the fact that Felicity's pregnant,
Yeah.
which I thought that was quite funny.
She
Like,
knew a
no,
lot.
no.
She knew an awful lot about stuff to do with pregnancies, though, didn't she?
Yes.
Like, does that mean that maybe this Laurel's got a kid, like in the other Earth or something? Because you just
Yeah.
seem very
Because
well
neither of them had children, did
educated
they?
on stuff. She was like, are
Yeah.
you taking this? Are you doing that? And it's like, well, how do you know? You're like a mercenary assassin killer. Why you know so much about pregnancy care?
She knew all about the signs and everything, didn't she?
Hmm.
So Felicity, and I haven't told Oliver. I was like, oh dear. So yeah, so little sister's going to let Oliver help her
Yeah.
because now he knows what her gender is, and she said, yeah, I'm going to let you help me.
Yeah.
Right. So then, futuristic scene, they got the tech working.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mia's very like Felicity. She's very feisty.
Yeah.
You know, the way she goes on, I thought, oh, you can tell that's her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So basically, that was all that happened in that little bit. They just said, oh, we've got it working. We've got the computer up and running. Then we flipped back to Diaz.
Yeah.
They were sent on the Ghost Initiative people were sent to contact a guy called Virgil
Yes.
at some party. But he made contact with him, but then they were outed because he realised that they were actually working for somebody. Didn't know who they were working for, but realised they were, mics or something on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lost him in the craziness. So it's like, who tipped them off though? You know, who told him that they were coming based on like an undercover thing?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, what happened there? Oh yes, and then obviously there was a bit up with Oliver and his sister moaning. He's interfering. Was it the sister? Yeah, that's right. Because she was trying to do something on the computer, and he kept saying, "I'll do this," and he was moaning about her arrows, and it's like being a total big brother, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Really,
and she didn't like it.
it's like no, not interested.
Mm.
And it's obvious. He said, "You stay here. We're going to me and Road Dog. Did I get it right?
Wild Dog.
Oh, nearly there. I keep thinking of wrestling.
Road Dog's a wrestler, yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, they set off, but it was obvious she weren't going to stay behind. It's like, because of who she is. So they went off. So then we go back to the future, a little bit of a sibling catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, and they talked about, like, he was on about, like, his feelings, like, being sent to live with his grandparents and how he felt like they rejected him, and now he feels even worse now because it's like, and then they had another kid. So then that makes me feel like they just didn't want me at all. You know, because it wasn't because they didn't want to be parents, you know, because if they didn't want to be parents, then why didn't they send you away too or whatever, you know, it's the fact that it was just me. So he took that quite personally.
Well, we said that about him, didn't we? We said that, we're like, they hardly sort of, when he was first in it, oh, it's all about him, and then he'd been gone for ages and hardly heard them mention him.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, he's safe, we'll just forget about him.
But you got to wonder, though, whether it's more to do, not necessarily with them, but more to do with the grandparents, that maybe that's the reason why he never came back into their lives. Not because they didn't want him, but because there was something blocking it from happening.
Yeah. But obviously, from his perspective, like, when you're a child, you don't see it like that, do you?
No.
You just think rejected, basically, and then obviously now finding out she had a daughter as well, she obviously wasn't sent away, like you said. Then we flip back to current day because of the cock up at the thing with Virgil.
Yeah.
Layla's going to get sacked because of it, and Diggle's decided, no, you can't take the rap. I'll take the rap.
Yeah.
Because he said, you're too good at what you do, and I'm not having that. The coin that guy was flipping was apparently important. Do you remember what that was about? You know, he had a coin.
Wait, what?
That Virgil guy.
Had a coin. No, I don't remember that bit.
Something was mentioned about this coin.
Okay.
No, you didn't pick up
No,
on that.
unfortunately that
Okay.
bit went completely over my head. Sorry.
Because yeah, I'm more observant than you. Yeah, so they decided they want Ollie to get involved, and Felicity says if he's going, I'm going.
Yeah.
At one point, he asked her something, and she thought he was talking about her pregnancy. She nearly told him,
Mhm.
and then it's like, whew, got away with that.
Yeah.
So then they found out. They went to there was some like things. Princess and Dante were going to be there,
Yeah, this
and when they
princess
got
from like
there,
India or something, wasn't she?
yeah, she was meeting with him, and they realised they saw the director of Argos was
Argus.
meeting.
Not
And thought,
Argos. Yes, the director
Argus
of the British high street shopping place. Yeah,
Trader
Argos
shopping
was there,
was sitting there
trying to make some new deals, for home delivery and stuff.
selling the Argos card. Yeah, so apparently he was the snitch. He was the one that told them that that they were sent, because obviously he wasn't happy with the Ghost Initiative himself anyway, was he?
So he's been
And then
working
he
as an
went and snitched on
insider.
them for some reason. I don't know what his agenda was.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they had Diaz there as well, and he went AWOL and shorted the chip they had in him to kill him.
Yeah.
So that was obviously that was his agenda all the time. He was thinking, well, nothing's going to go down well here, so I'm going to try and get away. Because Diaz had told Dante about the setup as well, so he told him that they're coming, blah blah blah. So he was prepared, wasn't he?
Mhm.
And he killed that director and the princess. God, I thought, bloody hell.
He like cut her throat, didn't he?
Yeah, he's nifty with a knife, that guy. Because at that bit where was it when he went outside and Oliver was there and he said, "Come on then."
So
do your best,
this was the whole part. This was the part of the episode that I really got into.
Started getting exciting.
This bit at the end with the party and Diaz betrayed them, which we should have all seen coming. Then you had the fight sequence. And then you had that awesome bit outside where Oliver was shooting arrows at him and he was just deflecting them all with his knives. He was just like ting 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 ting, and it was like, wow, this guy's amazing. It was pretty awesome, and you might not even know who he is though, because like the guy it was cool that we finally got to see Dante. That was a big deal after all the build up to him, after all the talking about him. He's played by the actor that plays him is called Adrian Paul, who in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was Highlander in the TV show spin-off of Highlander. So the Highlander movies that had Sean Connery and stuff in. They made a TV show of it, and he was the main character in it. So this guy obviously has done fantasy TV shows before, and obviously had to do a lot of fight sequences and stuff like that. So it probably wasn't difficult for him to do the training and stuff at Arrow.
No, I don't know. I don't think I ever watched it.
No, you might not have watched it. I mean, it was one of those things that, like there was this phase in television where they made every film like that was made into a TV show. Like they did it, there was a RoboCop TV show, and there was, all these other TV shows. Highlander was one of them. But the difference with that was that he actually then crossed back from the TV show back into the movies when they made some more Highlander films, and I think some of them just went direct to DVD. Because there was one that was Edge was in one of the Highlander movies, wasn't he? Do you remember that when Edge was in a Highlander film? And that was with Adrian Paul. He was the main character in that movie that Edge was also in. So he sort of went backwards and forwards from being the TV Highlander to being a movie Highlander to being the TV Highlander. And I don't really know what he's done in the meantime, but now he's cropped back up and he's in Arrow. So that was quite cool seeing him in there, and the whole sort of cool with the knives and stuff, and the backflip. The backflip he did off of the balcony was awesome.
Oh yeah, he said he just went and he's like, hey,
yeah, it's like, wow.
Like, damn, he got away. But then Felicity got Diaz, and I thought, oh, here we go, it's her hit of vengeance.
Yeah, seeing as no one else would kill him for her, yeah.
And then, because Diggle was there, wasn't he? So he didn't realise he was behind. She said, no, I'm not going to kill you. And then Diggle got him. Mm-hmm. It's like, yay. So that was that. And then Ollie and his sister, she decided, oh, yeah, I am sorry. I have been nasty. I want you to help me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then it nipped quickly to the future where they had found some tunnels into the glade.
Yeah.
And there was something about a Rubik's Cube. And then Mia said something about the cube, and she started moving it around, and she opened it, and there was a tape in it. Well, I thought it was hilarious, because I knew you could see what was coming, couldn't you?
Yeah.
What's this? It's a tape. Oh, my grandparents used to have an answering machine. They used to put things like that in. What's an answering machine? It's like, I love it when it's something like, because you can imagine people in our time, years later, go, what is a CD?
Yeah, exactly. But
What does this disc do?
he was really impressed with it because he was like, it's a really clever way of keeping a message concealed because
Yeah,
unlike something data related, you can't hack it, you can't decode it. You need to
yeah.
find a machine to play it on.
Good old real technology, see,
Yeah.
that doesn't mess up. See, they should have kept cassette tapes.
So that's intriguing as to what's on there. What's the message that's
Yeah,
on
so
there?
now they have to find a machine of some sort to actually decode it, as they would say,
Mm-hmm.
to listen to it. Felicity finally told Ollie about the baby.
Yeah.
Said, we like our children. He looked at her because you said children. Said, yes, I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
Yay. It was like a happy moment. Then went to a very dire moment. Dante's at Amika's.
Yes.
Wow, she's not his sister.
She's working for Dante.
She's working with him and she's not even his sister.
Well, we don't know if she's not
Well,
actually a sister, but
potentially she couldn't be. She might not be. So it's like, is she or isn't she? So that was interesting.
what I liked about that too, though, is kind of cleared up. You know, the query about like how has she got all this ability? How is she so good with the bow? You know, Oliver spent years on an island learning how to use a bow like that and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, now if she's part of this organization, then that explains why she's got all these skills and things.
So that was very, very eye-opening. And then we go to Diaz in his prison cell.
Yeah, because he got sent
turns
back to
up and says,
Slabside,
what are you
didn't he?
doing here? Yeah, they said, you're going to actual prison now.
Yeah.
We don't need you anymore. You're finished with. We're useless. So you're back in Slabside. And then he goes, he said something like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then we saw petrol, and then we saw a lighter, and then we saw him burn.
Yes, so the thing is that the end of him, or will it be like
Someone get there to save him?
Yeah.
Like, whoa. That was like, what? I was quite shocked at that.
Yeah. And it's like, now the question is, who was it? Was it one of, you know, did Laurel finally decide to, maybe because she's the DA, you know, she could go to the prison. Maybe it was her.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Laurel did it. You know, or it could be some of the other baddies, or who.
There's a lot of people it could have been. You know, even could have been Felicity.
It could have been, yeah.
Could have been anyone, so we'll have to wait and see.
And what's really interesting...
I mean, like I say, they might save him to the point where he's charred, you know, like he's scarred for life.
Yeah.
You know, they don't kill him, but he's scarred for life, so what he's done, he scarred everyone else for life with what he's done. So, no, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of dying.
Yeah.
I'm going to ruin you, sort of. You know what I mean? Like in a very sadistic type of way.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least it like redeemed itself at the end. So.
And I mean, it's intriguing. It's intriguing with this group because we finally got to meet Dante. Obviously, we got to meet Virgil briefly. And
yeah, because he got off the ship, didn't he? He got off a Stingray. Is it Stingray? Did you see his strings?
It was Thunderbirds, not Stingray. Virgil Tracy from Thunderbirds.
Oh, I knew it was one of them. Did you not see the strings? I did.
Funny. No, what I was going to say to you about them, though, is that I mean, I'd already picked up on this because of knowing about, you know, these things, literature and stuff like that, but Dante is obviously, you know, Dante's Inferno.
Yes.
And the person that wrote Dante's Inferno was Virgil. So... It's quite interesting you've got, so I was like, they should have had it the other way around, that like Virgil should have been the leader and Dante should have been the like, you know, the lower down member, but obviously it's the other way around.
Sidekick.
They are part of, again, tying into that whole book, that whole story, the organization's called the Ninth Circle, because again, it's that whole idea, you know, in Dante's Inferno, the 9 circles of hell. So that's the name of their organization. So whether or not we'll get to see more members, because in the comics there's quite a few people that are part of this organization. It's not just Dante and Virgil and loads of hench people. There's other people too.
Probably if now they've shown the connection with the girl and him.
Yeah.
Now we know a bit more about there is a connection. There's something going on. So potentially yes.
And the thing I just saw quickly, because I was just looking up just to make sure I got that information right about them, the coin thing you mentioned before, the coin is to do with them. It's their symbol of membership of their organisation.
Yes.
So that's what
So
the
you
relevance of the
noticed.
coin was.
Yeah, because it was. Somebody mentioned it afterwards. Somebody mentioned the coin. That's why I can't remember what it was. One of Diaz's lot.
Hmm.
One of the Ghost Initiative people.
Yeah.
So that was mentioned, you see. So then that's why I wanted to know what it was, and obviously you didn't even notice. So.
Yeah, I know. But like I said to you, it's because
yes.
I was sort of not completely focused on the episode because I just felt it was a bit meh. But there we go. But yeah, so that's
Go
Arrow.
forward and see what happens.
So now
Right then,
the final show of the Arrowverse shows for this week was The Flash, and the episode was quite plainly called what happened in it, which was King Shark versus Gorilla Grodd.
Mm.
And this was just a big fight showdown between two big CGI monsters, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've always not enjoyed the Grodd and Shark Man thing. I always thought it's a bit silly.
Mm.
So when I saw it was them two again, I went, oh, great, what's this going to be about?
I mean, I enjoyed it in terms of it was a proper, just like a silly comic booky episode.
Yes.
And you got to see these two monsters. I mean, the effects, I think, over time, from the very first time we saw, especially King Shark, have definitely improved as time's gone by. And he looks just so physically imposing. I mean, the bit when they actually sort of got to see him, when he was stood next to them, it's like, he's huge.
Yeah.
He's so big. It's like they looked so tiny. They were like children in comparison to him, because of how tall
they were just
and
looking
big
up
he
at him
is.
going,
Yeah.
whoa.
I mean, the basic premise of this episode was to do with the long and the short of it is they used two super over-the-top cartoon characters to push forward the plot of the metahuman cure. That was really the point, wasn't it?
That was the point of it, yeah.
So they had the cure, they've got the cure finalised, they want to test it, they're trying to work out ethically how they can test it, and they're like, well, somebody basically needs to volunteer. We can't just go and use it on somebody. Who would want to use it?
They're not allowed to use it as a weapon, didn't they? They said
it
can't be used as a weapon, and then Barry goes and uses it just because he was scared to death. He just went, and shoved it in him. It's like,
but that's the thing.
You didn't ask my permission.
They made it clear that, that wasn't the case, and that was as they say, foreshadowing. They brought that up purely so that then it could come up again later on in the episode. But they said about the best person, somebody who would maybe want to use it, someone that would want to be able to revert back to a human, and that was King Shark. So they headed off. They went to see Lila because obviously
Argos.
Argos. They went to Argos to pick up a toaster, and while they were there, they went to speak to Lila.
Lila.
And they said about this idea and stuff, and because obviously he had been under their guard, they'd had him since the last time he got out, and they were like, okay, well, we need to go and see him. So they went somewhere, and I was like, where are they going? Why are they at a dock? It's like, what's going on?
It was like a marina or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've gone from being at Argus to being at this marina, and then that's where they went and met up with the Dr. Lambden, who was working on stuff to do with King Shark, and she was basically a marine biologist. She was his handler, she was looking after him, and they'd created this crown that would allow them to communicate with each other. And she said, he's changed a lot, he's been evolving, obviously he's changing physically, but his mind is also, he sort of wants to communicate more and wants to understand things more, so they'd created this sort of crown which allowed that further communication. And so then they called him out, she contacted him and said they might have a way of, helping you and maybe, reverting you back to human form. So he came flying out of the water, and then that was the bit where it's like, whoa, this guy's huge. And he was going to work with them, and then suddenly something happened, and he went all crazy, and he almost ate Cisco.
Yeah.
And so Barry just reacted, didn't he? And Barry
reacted,
him.
yeah, exactly.
And this is what annoyed me a little bit later on. I understand the whole ethical thing that they were talking about, but at the same time, Barry acted on instinct because he didn't want to see his friend eaten. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Did they not realise at the time, my head was going to be his dinner?
Yeah. So,
so it's like having a right go at him. For no, okay, all right, next time I'll let him eat you.
Exactly. But the cure worked, and it turned it back into a human. So they took him back to Star Labs, and they were doing research on him, and they said basically, although it's worked, the the animal DNA that's like in his body was kind of fighting back against it.
Yes, because his hand was changing into a fin, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we said there's still dark matter kind of stored in your pituitary gland that's connected to the kind of shark part of you. So we need to do more tests to see if we can subdue that. But in the meantime, it's sort of pushing back. And then he saw the girl, because that was the other thing, was obviously she was the wife of the original, like the Earth 1 version, because this guy is from Earth 2.
Yes.
So although it's her husband, it's also not, because he's from another Earth, and she's obviously in love with him and stuff. And they had a moment, and then he started transforming again, and she freaked out. So they were like, okay, we need to, carry on working with this. But then Sherlock was standing alongside all this and watching, wasn't he? And he was like, he had a chat with her, and he was talking about all the thing about like, oh, I know what it's like, I've fallen in love and married the same woman from multiple Earths all these times, and he's like, he was the one that saw you're in love with him and you're afraid of it all and everything like that. So that was that kind of little subplot about the fact that she loves him and stuff. Then they looked into what had caused this schizo burst and stuff, and it was to do with Gorilla Grodd, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was then they were like, okay, but we thought he was in a cell deep within Argus. So they went and spoke to Lila again, and she looked into it and said, yep, he's escaped. And it was all like, this annoyed me a little bit in this episode, because again, it was just like, there wasn't much thought beyond, let's have two monsters fighting each other. Was that apparently a year before, during the Enlightenment, when it caused all the systems to go down,
he'd escaped.
No, momentarily he hadn't escaped. He'd been able to use his mind control on a guard who was then able to like feed him information or something, so that he could keep an eye on what was going on in the outside world and wait until the moment was right to disable everything and get out. So it's like, he's been biding his time for something to happen that theoretically he shouldn't really know was going to happen. Because, this is basically like him relying on almost like having future knowledge to know that they were going to work on a metahuman cure, this woman was going to create a telepathic crown, and they were going to find a way to integrate it all together. It was like, it was a big stretch of the imagination to go, how are all these pieces coming together? Do you know what I mean?
That's the whole, that's what I say, the whole thing was a bit...
There were a lot of plot holes, but I think they didn't want you to focus on that. They wanted you to look beyond the whole, look beyond that and say, look, yeah, this is cool. Look at these special effects of these big monsters fighting each other, and also the fact that we've test-driven the cure now and we know it works. So the long and the short of it, anyway, without dwelling too much, is that they figured out Grodd is the problem. We need to stop Grodd. So he then said, look, I want to help. And he allowed himself to become King Shark again, because he was like, I can use my power and my strength. I can stop him. So
that fight was pretty cool, though.
The fight was pretty cool, yeah. And Nora and Flash got knocked out in the process, which is the bit we got very beginning. So they had that tease where you saw them there on the ground, and you saw
and then they said 12 hours earlier, and they sort of go back to it. Yeah, that bit where he got him, because did he knock him on his back and a shark, he can't move or something?
Well, they said that,
and
like,
they had to,
when they get, he was knocked unconscious or something, they said the body shuts down as a self-preservation thing, so he needed to jumpstart him, didn't he?
He had to get electrical, some sort of electrical power to jump, didn't they? Jumpstart him like a car.
Yeah, so they used their abilities and they ran, and then they shot a lightning bolt, the two of them, and it supercharged him basically and brought him back to life. Yeah. And then he got back down just in the nick of time, and then he started beating up Grodd and throwing him around, and he took the crown back off his head, and they managed to defeat Grodd, and Grodd got taken away, and then they built a brand new cell in next to no time. I mean, it just shows the money and the resources Argus have, because they were like, yep, we got a new cell for him, and it's got all these power dampeners, but the concerning thing was they found doing scans that his mind, his psychic abilities and that are growing stronger. He's like evolving, and he's becoming more intelligent and more powerful, so they've now got this algorithm that will adapt the security parameters of his cell in line with how his mind grows. And then the downside for the guy was that basically the cure won't work on him again now. He's stuck now as being a giant shark man thing. He's like not ever going to be able to change back into a human again. And
No.
they stuck him in like a marina, like SeaWorld type place, not a marina, yeah, like SeaWorld.
An aquarium type.
Yeah. And he's just like swimming about in there, and that was really sad. And like Sherlock came and spoke to the girl and obviously said about everything and, you know, feelings and things, and then he left her alone, and then King Shark flew up. He flew up under the water. He swam over to the glass and put his hand on it and spoke to her, and she put her hand on it and stuff, and it was like, oh, it's kind of sad and sweet at the same time. But yeah, so he's
That's
there.
been silly.
Yep, he's there. Grodd's back in a like high security cell, and they now know that the cure works. So they made the decision basically that they're going to use it now on Cicada.
They're going to ask him.
Yes, they're going to offer him the cure. So, like, what is the incentive? What's going to make him go, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, I'll take that. You know, so, I'm not sure how that's going to go, but...
It's not going to go as simple as that, is it? Because at the end of the day, he's trying to destroy everyone that's made him like that.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, so he goes back to being normal, but he still might want to kill everyone that did that to him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck with that, chaps.
Yeah, exactly. The only other big thing about this week's episode, though, was the return of Joe.
Yes, Joe came back and everything that was going on, meditating with Wally.
Yeah, in the Himalayas or whatever.
Obviously, yes. Iris was trying to not let him know the truth and about why she wouldn't go in her office to do the cicada thing, and he was teaching her how to self-defense and stuff. And the long and the short of it, she lost out on a big story as well, didn't she?
Yeah.
You went, oh, what?
How
really?
did I not know this? Yeah. But he convinced her, didn't he, to like, you know, go back to work and stuff. Because obviously she'd been thinking about the stuff that had been happening in the previous episode with the time loop. Of,
well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not wanting to be in her office because these terrible things happen and stuff. And then Joe convinced her in the end to go back. So I want to know what the point of that was, though. It's like, there's got to be a reason behind that, because it just seemed like a weird little side plot. So there's got to be some other thing behind all of that, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it was nice as well, because it was our first time of seeing Joe again in ages. Because obviously in real life, Jesse L. Martin had some health issues, and that's why in the show, yeah, I think he had some issues with his heart or something. So that's why he was not in it for so long, because he wasn't well.
When you refer to him, you're feeling better and I'm stronger now and all that. It's almost like what he was in reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you really feeling? Oh, I like that guy as well.
Yeah. So it was good to see him back. It was nice, you know. It's like, yeah, he's back on the show. He's good. He's well again now.
Good to go.
But yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell. That was it. Yes. The only other thing I just loved a little bit with again, Cisco is our, you know, the resident geek on the show, and like how cool he thought the fight was, and he was like, oh, he referred to King Shark and Gorilla Grodd as kaiju, which is like what they call like Godzilla and things like that, and he was just like, oh, this amazing kaiju battle and all this lot, and it's like, he's such a geek. It's so funny.
We had a few moments, didn't he, that just briefly cut into there. There was a bit where he was getting his Oliver Queen mode on. Said, hey, I'm getting my Oliver Queen. And then obviously the bit where he punched Barry was hilarious. Obviously when that thing took over them two at one point, you know, Grodd's mind thing.
Yeah.
So he punched Barry. But personally, I just, apart from the point that I used the drug, I always find those ones really stupid.
I will say,
yeah, like, oh, I'm in love with a shark. Yeah, go on then, girl.
You made me think about something though. Is you said the bit about Oliver Queen? It just made me think that, again, if you think about it, Barry reacting in the way he did and instantaneously jumping in and hitting King Shark with the cure and stuff, and, you know, not stopping to find another way or anything like that. That's a very Oliver Queen sort of thing of like, there was no other option, I had to act. And we've seen this more and more since the crossover and the fact that they kind of swap lives.
Since when he was him, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost
he's
like
got a bit of his traits.
he's retained certain
Yeah.
elements of Oliver Queen's personality, hasn't he? Which is interesting.
Anywho.
But yeah, so there we go. So that's all our superhero shows for this week. So finally, we move on to the highlight and the end of the podcast in the same way that we do every week. This was the very exciting, very special effects heavy, amazing to see on television, and not that it's not a film, the Orville Identity Part 2. Wow, is all I will say.
Yes, me too. I was exhausted watching that one. So, they've all been captured now. Gordon and his chat about Springsteen and bagels.
Yeah.
Trying to chat to the alien, to the Isaac. What are they called?
The Kalons.
Kalons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite funny.
Yeah.
They have to have him in that program. He's amazing.
Know,
and then Ty seems to think Isaac will help them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and then what? The Vulcan woman, something happened. I don't know what happened there. Something happened, and one of them shot, because when they get those things out of their head, those guns out of their normally very nice rounded heads.
Yeah.
One of them shot the Vulcan woman, didn't they?
Well, yeah, because what basically it was the little boy, when he was saying about Isaac and that, he ran off, didn't he? And they were like, Ty, come back, and he ran towards the guards.
That's right.
They were, being like that, and so they all came forward to say, let him go. And she ran forward, being obviously like chief of security, and one of them just blasted her and knocked her down. And then they were like, we need to get her to sickbay, and they explained, she's very important, you won't want her to die.
Well, they were going to, but then Isaac said, yes, you need to, so they need to let her through.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still mad with him. And then they said, right, because of that, they said they're going to kill them if they don't do as they're told.
Yeah.
And they're going to kill all life form on Earth as they created them as servants/slaves, which is what we said last week.
Oh yeah, that's when we found out exactly what went down on their planet, wasn't it? They said, as we discussed previously, that they were designed as just servant bots, and then they were mistreated, and they gradually became self-aware. I mean, it's a very typical sort of scenario that we've seen in other science fiction, where the machines gain humanity, like our program Humans, and in like the Terminator films and things like that.
Yeah.
So always the artificial intelligence always grows and becomes self-aware, and then realizes I'm being treated badly.
Well, you get their motive, but it's gruesome at the same time, isn't it? It's like,
and that's kind of what they said, wasn't it? That's what like the Orville crew were like, like Ed was like, look, what happened to you was terrible. You shouldn't have been treated that way, but it doesn't excuse the fact that you annihilated an entire planet full of beings.
No.
It's like, that is, and now you're going to go and do that for the rest of the galaxy. And it's like, we're not them. We're not them. We're not the same. It's not fair that you go out and you want to destroy all life in the galaxy. And
Can't be allowed to do this now.
And then he sort of referenced their history and said, yes, but is it not like... That shot was interesting the way it was framed as well, because they never went into it specifically, but you could kind of get where they were going with it. Like when they were saying about your own people, have you not even you've enslaved your own kind in the past, and the camera shot when that bit was being said was the black guy John was sat there and he looked kind of uncomfortable, and it's like, this is reference, obviously, human history. Obviously we enslaved black people.
Exactly.
And it's like, that was the reference, and it's like they didn't dwell on it, but just by having that dialogue and having that particular camera shot, because they could have shown anybody else, or they could have shown a wide shot of all of the cast.
They sort of picked up on that after, didn't they? A little bit further on.
Yes.
Because they had that bit, then they had there was a ship came into contact with them, one of the Orville ships, and he said, oh, you have to tell them this, that, and the other. And so he sort of whispered to the Kelly, saying Directive 98, whichever that was.
Yeah.
And he had a blah, blah, blah to him on the message. And I went, so I'll give you a 13-button salute, which was your coded message. And they realised what they did, and they bloody blew it up.
I couldn't believe that. I was just like, wow. They were like...
That was the biggest shock for me, because Orville, okay, it's... Like you say, it was light-hearted, it's gritty, but never like... That was just awful.
Yeah.
I just like, oh my days.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, right, they took the captain, Ed, and said, you're going to be punished for this.
Yes.
And they got they got another guy, a crew member, and they're going to chuck him into the airlock and push him out into space.
Mm.
Oh, and then obviously Isaac was trying to intervene and saying that he is very important, blah, 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 blah.
I think the
But
captain
it
will
didn't
have
work,
learned
and they
his
did it
lesson.
anyway.
Yeah, because they basically dismissed Isaac, and they were like, you know, go away, like take him away from here and all this kind of stuff. You have duties to resume. And then they opened the airlock, and the poor guy went flying off into space.
Well, that's two things like in the Orville that I didn't expect to see. So it's like another person dead.
Yeah.
The thing I said about, did they not show a book called the Roots book?
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
said something about that. Said, see, they have books. This is about enslaved. This is what they did. Somebody said something about that book, didn't they?
Yeah, the number one, the head Kalon, after that incident in the corridor and stuff, he was like, I'm concerned by you, Isaac. I'm concerned by your behaviour. And he wanted to have a chat to him and stuff. And then he said, referenced about, I've never seen any evidence of them, you know, yes, there have been things in their past, but they seem to have grown beyond that. And then he was like, are you aware of this? And he showed him like a digital copy of Roots. And
Yeah,
like,
they still read about these things.
I want you to read this and absorb this. And he was like, you don't understand what it's like. You were made after what happened with our creators. So you just have the knowledge, but you weren't there when it happened. And he's like, I want you to go away and think about all of this. And also, didn't he then, was that when he said to him, I want you to pick a different name?
Yeah, he said, why did you name yourself Isaac? And he named after Isaac Newton. And then he said, now you have to change your name.
Yes.
He told him he had to go away and change his name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a little bit of a comedy moment where they were all captured, where Ginger guy, what's his name again? Gordon,
yeah.
About the pea corner.
Oh, I know.
We have a pea corner. We have to find somewhere to go, so we've allocated a corner where you can go and pee.
It's so funny though, because obviously we don't, you know.
It's true. There's real life.
Yeah. Because of this being obviously on the internet and stuff, we don't necessarily always name names. So the person that I was watching the Orville with the other night, quite plainly pointed out and said, there are lots of boxes there. Why didn't they just repurpose one of them as a toilet rather than going in the corner of the room? And I was like, yeah, that would have made more sense. It's like, that would have probably been the more hygienic thing to do rather than going over into the corner to go to the toilet.
But at the end of the day, like we said the other week about the Orville, they say things that you do expect. You never see anyone going, excuse me, I've got to go and powder my nose.
Like it,
so, they possibly do need to go to the toilet, don't they? So they just brought that in, going, we're all stuck in one room, we can't get out, we've got to go to the toilet, so we've got a pee corner. So I thought, yes, kudos to you for doing that, because in real life you would still have to go for a pee at some point. So
anyway, they were then trying to concoct a plan of like, we've got to do something. So luckily, our guy that we haven't really seen a great deal of this season so far, Mr. Blobby.
Before that, just before that, Kelly suggested getting the Kroll to help.
The Krill.
The Krill.
Yeah.
To help. So Yarfoot Jellyman.
Yaphet, yeah.
Yaphet Jellyman. They decided he was going to be the distraction. So that they could listen. They needed a distraction in order to get Kelly and who was she going with? Somebody else. Who was going with her? Somebody was going with her to get in a little pod capsule to get out and get to the Krill to get some help. So the first thing they did with Yarfit, he was the distraction. Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, he had to go. So, he had to try and help them to cause a distraction. So he went through the vents.
He went in the vent, attacked a few of those robots, got a gun, came flying out of there with the gun.
Yeah, and gave the gun to Bortus.
Yeah.
And then that was the distraction. Yeah, so that was you were getting the sort of the way things panned out a little bit muddled there. So yeah, Yaphet went through, got the gun, came back, gave Bortus the gun. Bortus then caused the distraction by shooting the guards, which then gave them enough time to get the shuttle sorted out, to lower the force field and get out into space. And they were going to pilot a course because they were like, well, we can't get to Mocklus or anywhere like that. So the closest people we could get to are the Krill. And they're like, but they're our enemies. And then I thought, I don't know if you thought the same as me, at that moment it was like, the girl, The woman.
Yeah.
The woman from previously that kind of owes them a
favour.
favour. Yeah.
The favour, yeah.
I was like, that's going to come into play. That was what my thoughts were. Yeah, same thing.
I thought, yeah, Tom said that it obviously owed them a favour.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the Jelly Man then had to go back into the tunnels to do something on a computer.
Well, yeah.
To get a signal to...
They also, on top of the escape craft, so the escape craft got out, the Kalon sort of shot it and stuff, but they didn't get it, and it got blown off into space, and they got away. And then they sent one of their ships, broke away, and said, follow them. So they followed them, and they were like, we need the second part of this plan. We need to try and get a message to Earth. We need to try and get a warning signal to Earth.
Warn them, yeah. Yeah, that's
so
it.
Yaphet said, well, I can go through the vents again, but and they were like, well, we could put in a code, and they said to John, would that work? And he was like, yeah, if you put in enough like frequencies, it will make it appear like background interference, so they won't be able to detect that a signal's been sent. How are we going to get somebody else? Ty stands up and goes, I can get through there. I'm small
enough. And the smallest one, yeah.
So that's what that was. So they went through
so
together,
then they went in there, yeah.
And then Yaphet went about sending out the signal, the distress signal, and Ty was on the other computer just punching in random things, and then they were interrupted. The Kalon came into the room.
So they got old Yaphet he sort of embodied himself into the thing, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to sort of what's it word? Turn it off, basically, because it's a computer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously then he sort of slithered out. I thought, oh no, he's been injured.
Because he was all like blackened.
He looked
and,
really
like,
weird.
Stuff,
he looked funny colour as well, didn't he? I thought, no. And then we saw Professor Stein.
Yes, again, yeah.
Yay! Well,
we see him every so often, don't we? Because he's like the Admiral Halsey, I think his name is.
Yeah. So he had obviously heard about the message.
Yeah.
The message had been sent, and he's like, we have to do something about that.
Summon the fleet.
Summon the fleet. That's it. Yeah. And meanwhile, Kelly and is it Gordon?
Yeah.
Were going in that little ship, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like, put it all. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, just go for it. She's going, go for it.
Yeah, because he said there was a technique, because they said the Kalon craft's catching up with us, and he said, well, there is one thing, but as far as I know, it's never been attempted. And he was like, it's theoretically possible. And she's like, what that? And he said, if we can divert all the power into, like, the quantum drive, it will give us, like, it will supercharge us, and it will get us away from them, but we'll be left without all these things. And she's like, it's a risk that's worth taking, do it. So he does it, and they go.
They
like,
did that, and then they lost all power, and they were just literally floating in space, weren't they?
And they were like,
but luckily they were near enough the krill for them to suck them into their ship, whatever it was.
Their spaceship, yeah. They
so luckily they didn't have to float too long, but they didn't believe them, did they?
No. And they were like, why should we? You're liars, and you're godless, And they were talking about their god Avis and stuff, and they're like, Avis does this, that, and yet you have no gods and everything. You're godless creatures, heathens. That everything you say is lies. And they're like, we're not lying. He's like, take them away and find out everything you know. And just before that happened, the Kalon ship turned up.
Well, the ship's arrived, yeah. It's like, all right, okay, you're right.
And he lost 2 of his ships, didn't he? 2 of his ships got blown up before they blew up the Kalon. And they're like, now do you believe us?
Yeah.
He's like, all right, then maybe I believe you now. So they agreed to call their forces and head to Earth. Because he was like, how do I know it's not going to be a trap? How do I know that you're not going to lead us to Earth and you're going to have your forces waiting there to destroy us? And it's like, would we really risk coming all the way out here in nothing but a shuttle if it was all a trick? So yeah, they agreed to help them.
Definitely pessimistic about it all, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, right, but back on the Orville, I win the bet.
Yes, I know, you got this right.
I was correct about Isaac, you lose. Wow. I wrote that down.
I said this at the time when I was watching it as well. I turned to my person I was watching it with and I said, well, Mum will be happy because she won this one.
So basically, yes, he was just being himself, and then his humanitarian traits that he'd learned from them made him change, and he wasn't prepared to let anything happen to them.
Well, yeah, because
so Isaac. Wow, go Isaac.
What was the tipping point?
The little boy.
Yeah, they wanted him to kill the little boy.
Yeah, they said you have to kill him, and that was it. He's like, I'm not having this. No way.
And
My
so
little
then
boy.
it was like the little boy was right back in the previous episode when the little boy was like, but he cares about us, and the mum was like, he doesn't have those kind of feelings, and he was like, I know he does, and he clearly did, because aside from everything else, he could not stand by and either watch them or be forced himself to kill that little boy. So it was like, nope, and so he blasted them all, didn't he?
He said, right, we go into the control room. We got to do this. He said, but potentially once I discharge them all, they all turn off, I will also turn off.
Yeah, because it was a targeted EMP, so it would shut down all of them, including him.
He told the little boy what he had to do. He said, once I've done it, you know what you need to do. Mm-hmm. So then, that was quite sad, wasn't it? Because he just little boy looked like, oh. So he did. He ran and did what he had to do.
Mm-hmm. So then they were able to take back control of the ship.
And Earth got the message, and let battle commence. Cool. That was a cool battle.
And then we just had such an amazing, for a TV show. I mean, it's like something like Star Wars or something. There were so many ships and so many lasers and explosions.
Gordon was in a krill ship. He was loving that, wasn't he? He's like, yay! Boop,
that
boop.
bit was so funny when he came flying out and he's like in the little pilot in the weird sort of batwing shaped ship.
I get you buggers.
But that whole fight sequence was amazing. I was just like, wow. How did they pull this off on a network television show? It was unbelievable.
That was the bit I was so exhausted after that. They were all over the place, killing things, and things were blowing up. Then they were blowing them up.
And it was like you had the classic thing, didn't you, where the Union forces were being decimated. Yeah, they were taking down the Kalon, but they were getting wiped out themselves. And then some broke away, headed to Earth. So Ed pilots the Orville along with a couple of other similar ships. And all the other ships are getting blown up till it's just the Orville. The Orville's heavily damaged. It looks like all hope is lost. Then suddenly the krill ships all come out of nowhere. And they're blowing everything up. And it's like then they routed their forces and they pushed them back. And
Kalon retreated.
And then the ones that were surviving retreated, yeah.
So, but allegiance with krill, maybe. So maybe
because you had that moment, didn't you, between the captain of the krill and Ed.
Yeah.
And he was like, we'll see. We're not making any promises, but...
Not making any promises, but yes, for now.
And it was that religion thing. It was like, well, Avis brought us together for a reason, so we trust in the will of Avis, so we will see where things lead us. And it's like, well, now we have a common enemy. And it's that whole, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes,
we don't like you, you don't like us, but there's something out there that is much, much worse than both of us.
Yep. So we went back to the ship and the outfit was okay. Yay, Jellyman's okay.
Yeah, he'd just been sort of shocked, hadn't he, by the electricity and stuff.
They were all mourning the death of Isaac. He was laying there, and then the outfit said that he could fix him.
Yeah, because he said after being inside that one...
Because I had to go inside them, I found out all intricate things that's inside them. He said, I'm prepared to do it.
Yeah.
So he did it. But then, obviously, Ed and Kelly went to Earth to talk to Professor Stein.
Admiral Halsey, yeah.
Yeah, and said to him, right, we got him back up and running. He said, yeah, but you don't know if you can trust him anymore, and I think I should take him off your ship and all this. And they said, no, we will keep him. I want to keep him. So, yay!
Yeah, they vouched for him, didn't they? And he said, I'll take responsibility for him. So because of that, Admiral Halsey was like, okay, I'll allow it, but obviously it's on your head. So that's that. So they've taken responsibility. So then we saw Isaac on the bridge, not on the bridge, but on one of the decks looking out the window.
Yeah, trying to see. So I can't quite see my home planet. I mean, the doctor still sounded like she was a bit angry with him, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
In a way, but she's like, oh, that's going to take a bit of time for her to forgive him.
But she said, though, didn't she, about, there's an old human custom, it's called forgiveness. And she said, that it doesn't sort of happen overnight, but eventually, you have to start somewhere, and all of this, that. And I thought that was really sweet, because he was, really sad, because he was like, basically, I'm alone now. Yeah. I'm alone in the universe. I've turned my back on my people. I can never return home. So that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing they've got to consider when it comes to sort of forgiving him. It's like, he gave up everything to save them and save their planet. That's right. So regardless of regardless of how he was compliant with stuff to begin with, ultimately he did the right thing. He saved them all. He helped save Earth. And now, as a result of it, he's an outcast. You know, he's got nothing anymore. So they need to, you know, they need to learn to sort of like to forgive him and things like that.
I mean, I think everyone else will. I think it's just her. It's her, isn't it? Because the fact that she hoped that he'd become enough. It was because he was more humane than she thought. She hoped he was more humane than he was. That he'd never put himself in that, let them get in that position in the first place. So that's just like based on like a relationship side of it. What she said. I'm sure, obviously, Ed has got faith in him and the others, but it was more of a personal thing with her, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think going forward, they may not be a couple anymore, but you know, we'll have to see. But yeah, action packed, absolutely amazing. Like you say, special effects,
it was so
everything is like. I was so exhausted. I watched it. I went, I can't just believe I just watched the Orville. I thought, that is so cool, this program. I love it.
It was brilliant. It was so good. And now it sets up the Kalon in the future as like another villain now as well. That it's clear we haven't seen the last of them because some of them got away and they retreated. So, but now, like they said, they can use the information from what happened, the data of what they recovered from the fight, also from information from Isaac and things like that, so they can build defenses to help prevent that again from happening in the future.
Yeah.
All in all, it was great. I mean, again, good job, Seth MacFarlane. Well
Yay.
done. He never replied to my tweet, by the way. No. Yeah, just so you at home all know, after last week, my mother said to me, "You're on the old Twitter thing. Why don't you send a tweet to Seth MacFarlane about our show and about how much we praise his show?" And it's like, okay, I'll do it, but I'm not expecting anything back. And yeah, I never got anything from it, but it was seen by a lot of people, though. I mean, the message was seen by lots and lots of people. But yeah, I mean, it's the chances are
still time.
He probably doesn't run his own Twitter. It's probably run by a PR company.
He's
that famous. He probably doesn't run it himself. But I don't know. You never know. Maybe we'll get a surprise one day, and I'll just get a message out of the blue, and I'll be like, "Wow!"
Like I say, somebody else saw it. They might tell him.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't reply to that guy. Oh no, guy. Oh wow, no, I'll have to. But yeah, all in all, good podcast. Awesome. Good chat this week. Lots of excitement. So exciting, nearly apart from a little bit. You were met with Arrow. I was a met with Flash. But so many technical problems today, listeners. So you know, I do hope you enjoyed this because we persevered and we were determined this was going to happen. So. You know,
a lot of work and effort went into this week's episode.
So much, yeah.
And I've still got so much more on my plate now with all the editing and stuff that I've got to do, so that's going to be fun.
You had an easy week last week, Dom.
Yeah.
Made up for it this week.
So that's going to do it. So thank you very much once again for joining us, everybody. Please don't forget to like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because that really helps. Go down below to the comments and leave us some feedback or your take on certain things, and also check out the description box. Go to my Patreon so you can donate. You know, it's up to you what you donate, but you can go to that on my Ko-fi account, buy me a coffee. Those kind of things help towards furthering what we can do with this podcast, with my channel in general. And while you're on the channel, check out some of the other bits and pieces, because there's all sorts of good stuff on there. So yeah, that'll do it for this week. So thank you very much, Mum. I will thank you this week, because last week
you
signed off.
You said goodbye and left me hanging.
So I apologise, and thank you again for today. Thank you for persevering and your patience.
Yes, it was good.
Yeah, we will see you all next time. So you take care now, everybody.
Bye, 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 bye.